Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. It's your boy David, and tonight we bring you the Tottenham fan call-in show. So make sure you click on the link up in the community section if you are a member, and get on and have your say. Off the back of yesterday's result, look, I don't really know what to say to people anymore about the losses that we keep on suffering. Look, for me, I think it's a game we should have won. I've expressed this a long time ago. It's been, that we can't keep relying on our attackers to score 3, 4, or 5 goals every single game. At some stage, we need to start talking about the defence and not keeping clean sheets rather than talking about more creativity. And I think we're well and truly at that point now. But Jacko, how are you, my man?
Doing all right, Dave. I was able to somehow get out last night. It's New York. It's been pretty much raining for, at some stage, it felt like it was 48 hours nonstop. It was raining so much, it started basically leaking, through the apartment. It was getting that bad. And, I was even saying to the missus, all I want to do is just pretty much just go out into that storm and just let it kind of just take me away after that sort of result. I didn't really know what to do with myself. Just wanted to bury myself in a big, thick kind of cheeseburger and maybe just never come back home ever again after, Dave. It really was that type of game where you kind of just had every emotion, where in the beginning you think it's just a bit of a Newcastle sort of kind of performance where all of a sudden you're preparing for the absolute worst, maybe even canceling the stream, just kind of quitting the game. Then all of a sudden Spurs mount some type of comeback and actually towards the end maybe even look like kind of the better team all of a sudden for us to maybe have, if my memory, probably the most Spursy moment we've ever had, at least in a long time. At least in my case, I think that was one of the Spursiest things we've ever done. But Dave, I guess we find ourselves continually, showing up and finding a way to sort of fix Spurs, as well as sort of, I guess, lament about, whatever it is that can be done, to try to make the best of a bad situation.
Yeah, look, for me, I think, Jack, this is one of the worst seasons I think I've ever had to endure. Although, on a side note, maybe a little bit of humor, I did send out a tweet last night because I was sitting here in hysterics thinking about it last night. I was rolling around crying. Only football can make grown adults walk around doing a pigeon dance, all for it to be taken away from you a few minutes later. But I found that hilarious just thinking, because I was speaking to Ben from We Are Tom TV last night, and I saw his highlights, and I texted him as well because him and Sim were doing the pigeon celebration and everything as well. I just found it hilarious that we have the greatest game on earth, and it can literally make grown adults walk around dancing like a pigeon. It's absolutely brilliant. Look, we do have a couple of talking points to get to today, but first I want to welcome people into the stream. Let's see who's with us. We got Tottenham Forever. Big up, Rhino. Good to see you, my man. We've got Derek Smith. Pretty sure Brighton will overtake us. They have 3 games in hand. We also have to go to Villa, which certainly won't be easy. Personally, I can't see past 8 or at best 7. Look, I think we're resigned to probably Europa Conference League football at this point. I do not see us beating Villa, Derek. But what I will say about Brighton, they do have Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle. And I think there's one more difficult fixture in there in some of them games that they have to play. So it's not a foregone conclusion for them at all at the moment, Derek. Robbie Keane says, to be honest, I didn't expect us to finish even in the top 6. Better not finish in the conference at all, as we'll play week in, week out. It proved us better to play 1 game per week. Well, that's what Antonio Conte said last season when he got top 4. He said it was a miracle, and it only happened because we were down to playing 1 game a week. And we've seen once the sort of Champions League fixture started rolling in, because we got off to our best start to a season ever, but once the Champions League fixture started rolling in, the League Cup fixture along with league games and everything else, we just could not handle it. Proof is in the pudding, my man. Tequila 316 says, big up to all the happy clappers in the chat, and especially Jack. Remember, if you're not happy and you're not clapping, then you're not trying. Love that.
Legend. What a legend.
Big up, Ellie. Hopefully you're keeping well, my dear. She says, it's all day of the topsy-turvy season. We're having a roller coaster that crashes more often than not. We could have avoided this demise and fixed our horrendous defence quite easily by buying 2 centre-backs. Well, I mean, Ellie, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I'll be honest with you. I tried highlighting it last summer. People didn't want to hear it. People wanted to believe in it, Davies. People wanted to believe in it, Sanchez. People wanted to believe in it, Dyer. I warned people, be careful what you wish for. These guys, they're not going to be able to continue on this season. And they haven't. They haven't. And this is the thing. This is what I've been trying to say for years on end. I get Pochettino's where everyone wants to get back to, that feeling, that camaraderie, that connection back with the club. But these aren't the guys we should be advocating to be a part of that. These are the guys that were back up under the Pochettino era. They weren't good enough to get into the Pochettino team. So they're certainly not good enough to take us back to them days. Otherwise, they would have been in that team. They would have been in there week in, week out. And we've just got to start calling a spade a spade. Stop the sentimentality shit. You know, it's okay having sentimentality towards the best players at the team because they do the job season in, season out. But to keep protecting these guys and keep all this with these guys, this nonsense, they can come in as backup, this, that, and the other. Well, we've learned our lesson this season. It doesn't matter whether they're backup, whether they're starters. It does not matter. They're shit, they're costly, and they cost us points in the league, which cost us league position, which cost us European football. And hopefully the people inside the club, with not having the Champions League revenue, will also realize their horrendous mistake by not doing it. Big up, Eddie. Swim Master says, up till the Newcastle game, I still thought we could get top 40 excitement more attractive to getting the best players and manager. Now I'd rather give Europe a miss for a year and build instead. Yeah. Jack, I think a lot of people are probably at that point now. I see a lot of it going on the socials today.
Even the ones like myself who kind of selfishly want to play in Europe, who want that extra sort of game, kind of maybe understand that a manager might benefit more from getting that sort of time on the training ground, that time to also be able to sort of perfect his ideas with the team, be able to sort of execute maybe various sort of kind of parts of the system that might need a lot of work, might need a lot of time. And also maybe after a few games in the Premier League, a few things might need to be tweaked and things need to be changed here and there, maybe personnel wise. And if you have, sort of a full week to prepare, and then you have maybe the few midweek games here and there in the cup competitions, you probably can manage that better as a, manager. And we've seen this, with so many managers this season, from Eddie Howe, Unai Emery, Thomas Frank, De Zerbi. All of them definitely are benefiting, I think, from having just one game a week or just having the midweek competitions. And even too, like, they're even able to sort of give it their all in the domestic cups too, which Spurs definitely want to be, maybe more, let's say, how would you take it more seriously, right? We want to be taking that more seriously. So if we didn't have the distraction of Europe, domestic cups could also be taken, a bit more seriously.
Yeah, fair point. Welsh Guy says, big up, lads. What can be done? We need more itches. Pundits left, right, and centre calling Spurs out. New chant, Joe Lewis, get off your boat. I mean, look, Darren Ambrose, I believe, has come out and said today that Joe Lewis is only in it for the money, which sort of backs up what my mate Harry Redknapp said to me Friday night. This is the problem. Like, Harry Redknapp was saying, look, this guy's richer than Abramovich. He could literally, sort everything out this summer if he wanted to with his cash. But, the guy's 85. I don't think he has any plans on doing that whatsoever. It's just sad, really, to be honest. And look, like you have there, purple and gold till Tottenham are sold, Welsh God. Because look, I'll be honest, I'm just fed up with going into every single season going, do you know what? We could do something if we can stay injury-free here, if we don't lose this player, if we don't lose that player. For once, just give us everything we need going into a season. Stop this pissing about. Stop everything, just fix the issues and put us going into the season in the best possible position that we can possibly be in with all the issues resolved. Because if you don't want to do that, what's the point of owning a football club? Surely you want the very best representation out on the pitch. So have all the problems solved going into a season. Really annoys me. Aga says, we get 2 quality centre-backs and a good goalkeeper and some creative midfielder like Maddison, then we will be a strong team. Yeah, I think you'll see a much more improvement on the pitch, to be honest with you, Jack. Do you think we'll see it?
This summer, I think it's important to bring in all those players that Aga mentions, but also being able to get rid of a bunch of players like Sanchez, Dyer. The rest of them need to be moved out, and probably even some midfielders as well, in order to also demand that there needs to be players brought in. Because I think what's been happening is that there hasn't exactly been a lot of turnover in certain areas of the squad. I think we've seen certain positions kind of come and go, but especially when it comes to the back line, maybe even goalkeeper too, hasn't been really much turnover over in that area. And there hasn't been much sort of sign that there is sort of players coming through for the future or anything like that. Even Romero, right, is kind of the only recent real addition to that sort of back line to sort of shake up the status quo there. And I think that's where the issue lies, is that needs to be, gotten rid of, as a lot of the players that have just been there 3, 4, 5, 6+ years that clearly have just grown way too comfortable and clearly have just been way too established there. And we'll see if the next manager, as well as the next director of football, is willing to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough.
Expect
We haven't seen it happen before. We'll see if it happens this time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely spot on. We'll take a few more comments and then we'll start getting on the guest. Dan Coy says we may scrape Europa League only if we don't return to Spurs' first half performances. I do not want Conference League. Rather finish 8th. Would rather more time on the training ground. Come on, you Irish Army. Look, I'll take this one because Jack has sort of already answered something similar, my man. Look, for me, like I said, I'm flopping and flipping on this every day, to be honest, every week. Look, I do want European football. I'll be honest. I know it sounds pathetic, but only if we're going into the European football and we're blooding youngsters, we're blooding players that are maybe on the periphery of the squad and hungry to get into it. I don't want it if we're going to keep playing Sanchez, Davies, Dyer, Lucas Moura, even though he won't be here. People like that, because there's no point. We know exactly what's coming down the line, regardless of who we draw. Whether we draw NS Moro or whether we draw fucking Barcelona, we know what's coming down the line. And the sad thing is, no matter what competition we end up in, no matter, it could be the back ass of nowhere, they're expecting to turn us over when we arrive. And we ain't ready for it. We are not ready for it. That's the problem. So there's no point in persisting with these guys because it's just going to be another embarrassing campaign. However, if we do bring back the likes of Spence, Gill, Harvey White, people like that, Dane Scarlett, blood these guys, nurture them, hone their skills and their talent through this competition, a bit like what Arsenal used to do with the likes of Saka, Smith Rowe, people like that, and now look at it. So if we're going to use it properly with players who actually want to be out there and perform and play, no problem. Because, you could even go back to the Europa Conference League and people say to me, but Dave, we tried Gill, we tried Scarlett. Yeah, but who did we play across the back line? Davies, Doherty, Sessegnon, people like that were playing. They're damaged goods. They need to go. So if we're going to use it properly, I want it. Big Welsh guy as well. Good to see you, my man. Great to see you. King Hoddle says, good to see you, King. Says, denied a historical comeback by the ref. Proud of the team. They do have fight, character, and unity. But a weak defense unit needs an extra mid for protection. 3-4-3 isn't currently fit for purpose. Look, we can sit here and moan about the 3-4-3 all we want. We know why we play it, because the Newcastle game. Second of all, it's like, look, I hear if you want to be proud of the fight back and that, I get it. For me, it's too late. You don't show that when you're 3-0 down. That's weak. Spineless. It's easy to show it when you're 3-0 down. Show it when the game's at 0-on and it actually matters and you're in the game and you have a chance of winning it where it counts. Not when you're 3-0 down, not when you're 2-0 down. I'm sick of it with these guys. I'm absolutely sick of it. I've been in teams. It's easy to play. It's easy to throw men forward once you're 3-0 down. Start doing it when we're in the game. Jack, anything you want to say to King on?
If anything, if I were to say with King Hoddle what the proud of the character and whatnot is, that maybe certain players, absolutely, like certain players have been able to pick us up, continuously throughout the season. You definitely would say that, Dave, right? Bentancur, you've seen the likes of Kane do it. You've seen other players sort of when we do find ourselves 2-0 down, 3-0 down, they happen to be able to mount comebacks. And I don't think it's actually thanks in any part to like the whole team or like the whole squad. I think it's just thanks to a particular core of players that probably are able within themselves to sort of just take on that sort of what seems to be a huge mountain to climb. But there are guys who I guess just sort of start to play a bit more freely, start to play maybe a bit more kind of, I guess, without any fear. And other players probably just maybe benefit from that. And I just feel like the issue is that it's just becoming exhausting for me, King Hoddle, to continually go down in this sort of manner and that sort of embarrassing type of way as well. It's embarrassing to go down that much. And also when you're 3-0 down, Liverpool, it's almost always and always will be impossible pretty much to come back. Spurs have made it impressively so, something that they can come back from. But like I said, I think that's more thanks to particular players, not exactly the whole squad.
However, if we do keep certain players and they do have that comeback character and we do improve the back line, we don't have to have that as much next year, but we know we've got that comeback thing in us. So next year it'd be hard to write us off in any sort of game. That could be a positive, but it all depends whether we get that back line sorted out or not. David Hall says, whole team is weak. Like I've said before, winning 4 games doesn't deserve a pat on the back. For 2 seasons of rubbish, I'd go longer. I'd say 3 or 4 seasons at this point. We need to stop this sitting back next season, get better defenders and attack. Look, I agree with you about the sitting back, but, we know why we do it. We can keep sitting there moaning and complaining about it, but we've actually got to realize why we do it. It's because that back line is shit. We can't send players forward. We can't send them to press the ball because gaps appear and they end up putting shots on our goal. Like, look at it. Not even the United game just gone. The reverse fixture. United had 20-something shots on our goal. 28, I believe. One of the highest ever recorded in the Premier League. And that hasn't just been United, by the way. There's been loads of games that have fallen just short of that tally. And that's why we can't send people forward. That's why we don't send them forward to press. Because all it takes is, and we've seen this, Newcastle done it. All it takes is a couple of long balls in behind the back line, you're in, and it's in the back of the net. Can't afford to do it. Cannot afford to do it. I hear it, and I want to get back to, pressing football, winning the ball higher up, etc., but we don't have it in us this season. We just don't. Big up Simba Ben 10. He says, Dyer peaks his teammates in washroom changing room. Adrian Schraka says, good evening. Oh, big up, Adrian. Good to see you. Kieran Spateri. Big up, brother. Long time no see. Hopefully you're keeping well. He says, Irish Hotspur, a long time no see. Just wanted to say this. Liverpool, for me, deserve to lose. I agree. We deserve something out of the game. Jota should have been sent off. You're absolutely spot on. But look, Paddy Power, I'm not sure who put it out there, but, because I think it was Paddy Power, they VAR checked, realised the guy that committed the crime was in a Liverpool jersey, which means it's no red card. And there's does anyone wonder why I coined the term Liverpool? There's a reason why I put it there.
I might have had the kiss of death though in the beginning of the watch along while you were finishing up at Weird Tom TV, Dave, where I did say that somebody said I'm really worried about Liverpool today, and they emphasized the VAR in it, and I said I feel like it's been more Varsenal this season, and I kind of detailed how much I feel like Arsenal have been benefiting from VAR, and I feel like maybe Liverpool not exactly as much the case as per usual, and I don't know, maybe that was the kiss of death, Dave. I just kind of I doubted the power of Liverpool. Yeah. I doubted it.
The Premier League said, hang on here a minute out there. Jack says that we'll make sure we prove to Jacko.
Yeah, I got punished.
He did. Sarah Ace says, big up Dave and Jackie. We need centre backs and creative midfielders in. We can't be playing with liabilities defenders in next season. We can do a lot better than this. Levy out. For sure we can, my man. For sure we can. I mean, look, Jack, I think Jack done some research today. And I mean, there's a certain club that's been through 2 managers this season and have still conceded less than us. We're an embarrassment across that back line. Yeah. Absolute embarrassment.
Yeah. It's quite sad to see where Spurs are this season when it comes to the back line. If it weren't for Harry Kane, anybody that's contributed in any sort of manner to the goals this season, if it weren't for the goal scorers and it weren't for the fact that we were maybe a team that can still score plenty of goals, we would be in the realm of a relegation battle or, somewhere near kind of the bottom of the table because we've conceded more goals than even Crystal Palace of all teams. It's quite pathetic. We've conceded 12 more goals than Crystal Palace. Yeah. It's pathetic.
It's a joke. What we'll do is we'll take about another 8 or 9 more comments. I'm way behind, and then we'll skip to the bottom and start getting on the guests. We've got the return of the Godfather, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Big up DJ Samuel. He says, purple and gold till this club is sold. Big up, my man.
And DJ Samuel as well, I believe, celebrating 7 months as a Flat Cat member, Dave. And he says, great live stream as always. Big yourself up, DJ. You're always with us, my man. And keep doing the good work as always. And appreciate you, my brother. And DJ, maybe one day you can come on and have your say, but we appreciate, representing, the Harris Army close to the Tottenham area. Big up, my man.
Yeah, DJ, it'd be awesome if you could get on and have your say. He's a Tottenham boy as well. He lives in and around Tottenham. Big yourself up, brother. Derek Hutchinson, great to see you, sir. My man, you're always here as well. Big yourself up, brother. Derek. We've got Alan Hayden says, good evening, David and Jack. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Alan. Big up, Shea Gooch as well. Big up, Derek Smith. Good to see you in the building. Roll on, June. Then this pain will be over. Yeah, it will. Well, till we kick off in the new season, and start all over
Where
again.
it's more that season where you can get things done,
Just
where
have renewed
things
optimism.
I think it's the summers where you just get stuff gets to start happening where right, you start to
Yeah,
see moves hopefully made and you start to hear rumors about things and that about whatever sort of maybe cleanup can be made, all the sort of good things that maybe we hope can be coming this summer happen in
yeah.
the summer. That's what maybe people look forward to, is that things can maybe start to head in the right direction.
For sure. Dermot John, he says, ladies and gentlemen, live from Hotspur Towers. They're the best duo since Mel and Kim. So do yourself a favor, hit that like and subscribe to get the guys to 10K. Let's get ready to rumble. Big up, Dermotron. Everyone, we are on the flip side towards the 10K, over the 9.5K bump. You guys have the power and the magic. Spread the stream. Let's get this channel to 10K. You've all wanted to see it. We wanted to see it. Let's all try and
Nearly
make it
there.
happen together. Big up, Dermo. Tyler, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my man.
Good man,
We've
Tyler.
also got Jason Bell. Big up, lads. Yesterday, I felt like the Spurs I fell in love with nearly 20 years ago. I never knew what the fuck we'd do, but I knew it was going to be wild. Do you know what, Jason? It is actually very similar to sort of back then, them sort of days. I get you, my man. I'll be honest, now that I'm older, man, back as a kid, you can sort of take it, right? You've got energy for days. Now, can't take it, bro. Honestly, coming out of games, I feel half dead. I'm waking up the next day drained, emotionally, physically. And all I'm doing is sitting here in a chair. It's ridiculous. Can't keep continuing like this, Jason. Big yourself up, brother. Wayne Bonner says, evening all, drop the formation, get the new centre backs and a calm and teach the players how to play football as they seem to have forgotten. See, this is the problem, Wayne. They don't want to be taught. They moaned about Jose's training. They moaned about Nuno's. Oh, sorry, they also moaned about Pochettino's. And now they were moaning about Conte's as well. They don't want to be taught. They don't want to learn. And then you've got like players coming out saying silly quotes in the press. For instance, I'll take you back to what Moonhead said after Jose Mourinho. It's not my fault. Yeah, it is your fault. Who do you want me to blame? The fucking crow that's up in the sky. Jesus Christ, it's absolutely codswallop. And, and then they come out and they go, but I don't want to do defensive drills. And it's like, duh. I mean, defense is our biggest problem. We've conceded 57 goals this season, 35 of them on the bloody road, and you don't want to defend? Well, that's the repercussions of it. It's just mind-boggling, I can't take it. I honestly cannot take it with some of these guys any longer. It is going to drive me to a mental asylum. It really is. Big up, Graham. Good
Big up,
to see
Graham.
you, my man. He says, evening, Dave and Jack. Levy out, Enoch out from Graham. Big up, Graham. Good to see you, brother. Hopefully you're keeping well. I actually seen a video of you the other day down there nice and early putting up the flags for the protests and stuff like that. Big yourself up, Graham. Fair play to you, my man. Who else have we got? We've got Colin Turner. We'll take one or two more and then we will crack on. We start off the back foot, putting ourselves under pressure, not enough closing down or tackles going in, but in the second, do what we should have done all season, attack. Again, second half, it's too late. It's too late. It's like everything's reactionary. I used to use this famous phrase when it came to Eric Dyer and between Romero. It's like, Eric Dyer is not proactive, he's reactive. And I used to say Romero's not reactive, he's proactive. But the whole shit stinks right now. It's all reactive, and it's like you're never going to go anywhere by doing that. You're never going to win anywhere by doing that. It's a joke. It's a joke, Colin. Big up, Paul. Good to see you. By the way, Harry Redknapp said he likes Ange Postecoglou. He wouldn't mind seeing him get the job. Just thought I'd let you know that. You'd love that. MC Lovin, Mac Lovin says nothing wrong with the Conference League. Look, we're at a point can't afford to turn our nose up at trophies. We just can't. What do we win? Can't pick and choose. If you don't win anything, you take the first thing that comes to you, no matter how little. And why not use the Conference League as a base, as a start for the foundation of where they want this club to be going forward? Go out and win that, make a statement, and use it as a catalyst. That's what we should be doing, not turning our nose up at it. Look, these players may very well turn around next season and go, oh, I don't want to be out in Kazakhstan on a Thursday night. Well, guess what? Your performances last season are the reason why we're here. So get your behind out there and bloody play. That's what should be told to them. Joke. And you know they're going to moan next year, Jacko. You just know it. We don't want to be going to Slovenia to play at SPURS. We don't want to be going here. And it's like, well, I mean, you're the reason why we're there.
I mean, you're fully responsible for the position you're in at this moment in time. Yeah, at this moment in time, absolutely right.
Joke. And then big up Brandon SC as well. He says, I was at the Jack. You can take this one.
He says, I was at the game yesterday. The limbs when Richarlison scored was some of the best I've been involved in. I was going mental on my seat, only to have the euphoria taken away moments later. Genuinely, Brandon, the Lucas Moura incident at the end was probably one of the most Spursy things I've ever encountered in my entire life. I think we absolutely all lost it as an entire Spurs universe. I think even people that probably had given up well into the game, people that probably didn't even have any hope, still when they got that equalizer found themselves losing their mind. Even Davey, and I were probably well and beaten. We didn't really feel like getting up for it, even when we did find ourselves 3-0 down. Once that equalizer went in, I think everybody lost their absolute heads, and it's just ridiculous the way it ended in that sort of way. And I don't know. I think it's probably going to be just still to this day, even if you're not even a Spurs fan or a Liverpool fan, one of the most ridiculous finishes to any game in the Premier League, maybe this season, and probably one of the most embarrassing ones at the same time as well, sadly. But Brandon, it was fun to lose our heads like that for at least a minute. It was absolutely amazing. And I do enjoy those moments. We haven't had those in a while, I would say, this season.
Yeah. Let me know if you're doing
winners.
Let me know if you're doing the pigeon dance, though. Surely you've all got carried away. It'd be amazing to see the away end and see them all going around like pigeons. It'd be absolutely amazing. Let me know if you're at that, though, my man. Big yourself up, brother. And we'll take a few more. Big up, Carl, as well. Big up, Anthony Rose. Good to see you. Scooter reacts as well. Great to see you. Calavius, great to see you. And Israel Uncovered, aka Amir, says we need European football. We also need to take all cup competitions seriously. I've had enough of being dumped out by cups by weaker sides. Big up, lads. Well, if you want to know why that happened, tune in Saturday. That's what I'll say to you. Tune in Saturday. That will tell you exactly why we go out of all the cups. 3 certain players. That's all I'm going to say. But big up, Amir. Hopefully you are keeping well, sir. Big yourself up, brother. But look, we'll run through some talking points just quickly, just to show you, maybe flash them up on screen. Not that sort of way, the way you're thinking at home, you sick-minded people, but just like this. Maddison transfer fee between 45 million to 60 million. Everyone knows where me and Jack sit on this. We were rumoured to support be looking at Pedro Gonçalves. We'd much rather him. However, I think the fact that Maddison is English and he'll qualify for that homegrown rule, I think it would more than likely be someone like a Maddison.
He's 2-1 up against the likes of Everton, though. So if Maddison were to maybe, let's say, survive with the likes of Leicester, I could see that price tag going maybe closer to around 60 million. Maybe if they were to go down, expected to be closer to around 45 million. If we end up having to pay a whole lot more for Gonçalves, Dave, I think we'll have to bite the bullet and maybe just accept that James Maddison is probably the best choice because he is maybe someone that fills that English quota, fills also maybe that creative midfield role in the Premier League, doesn't maybe need too much time to adjust or really shouldn't need too much time to adjust, and also contributes in the goals and the assists. He can drop deep, play a variety of positions. He's good in that sort of setting the tempo and kind of killing games off. So I don't know. It kind of maybe makes sense for a cheaper price, 45 million. I think it would make a lot of sense, but I'm a little bit worried also as well, though. It feels like everybody would want James Maddison. So what type of bidding war is going to happen too, right?
Everything you described there, Jack, is when there's a World Cup round the corner. Since then, it's sort of tailed off, I would argue. Look, for me, I've said this before, it comes down to mentality. I think someone like, and we've learned this lesson between Lo Celso and Bruno Fernandes. Guess what? We lost. For me, I think I'd much rather Pedro Gonçalves, someone who wants to win, has that grit, the desire, the determination, also scores a lot of goals and assists. James Maddison, I've heard some bad things coming out of Leicester about him and his attitude. For me, I don't think we can afford to have any more people around like that who think they're the big wigs. And I'll never forgive him for thinking he's a Mr. Man when he's given all the smooth like that when he scored against us for it to be ruled out a few minutes later. The clown. I do not want him. But look, if he comes, I'll support him.
Would you rather have Ward-Prowse?
My back.
I think you would rather have Ward-Prowse, Dave. Isn't that right from the podcast, if I recall?
Yeah, I would rather Ward-Prowse. I think, free kick specialist, takes corners, good passing range, gets stuck in. You don't become a captain unless you have a good mentality. Well, actually, you do at Tottenham. But usually, a captain shows and proves that you've got good mentality, leadership skills and stuff like that. we're void of leaders. I think Madison is one that needs to be led. Will Prowse is one that will lead, and I would rather him. I know they play different positions, but for me, I think we could definitely do it with someone like Ward Prowse. Why do we keep conceding goals so early in games? I mean, look, if you know the answer to this, please send me the lottery numbers as well. But look, it's just becoming so costly at this point. It's happening way too often. As you can see here, something that Jack compiled a little bit earlier.
Yeah, let me actually take the StreamYard banner away from it. Everybody, we stand currently 16th in the Premier League for goals conceded. That puts us well behind the likes of Crystal Palace, who have gone through two different sort of manager kind of stints. I think they've also kind of been on the beach basically since sort of feels like kind of midway through this season. They kind of sort of have hovered, in and around sort of the position that they are in. And yet we've conceded 12 more goals than the likes of Crystal Palace, 10 more goals than the likes of West Ham, and a lot of these teams that we've conceded around the same goals as, or teams that we've sort of have conceded even more goals than, or actually sitting close to around the relegation sort of kind of positions. And if it weren't for our attack, which I believe, Dave, just recently, maybe we dropped down to fourth, but for the majority of the season, I think we were around third or fourth, most goals scored actually this season. So where actually you would say is the attack has been doing, for the most part, its part. It could be doing even better, which is kind of scary to think about, right? That's how good the attack is that it could be doing even better, but it's been doing its sort of part and, finishing third or fourth in the position in the league. But the defense is, I mean, damn near relegation standards at this stage.
Yeah, it's quite embarrassing. It's quite embarrassing. Uh, I don't even know. Look, there's nothing I can say, Jack, that I haven't already expressed over the last 2 years. The fact that you've got Brentford, newly promoted side up there, conceding less than us. Palace, who've gone through two managers, conceding less than us. Fulham, who only got promoted, conceding less than us. It's just embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. And I see King Huddle quickly says here, Dave, your man Romero, is he as good as we think he is? Um, Look, I mean, if that's the conversation people want to have, you're more than welcome to have it. I will no longer be engaging in that discussion, as I think it's absolutely silly when you've got Dyer, Romero, or when you've got Dyer, Sanchez, Davies, people like that who have been costing this club a lot longer. And I'd argue you've seen a lot more good from Romero than what you've seen bad from him, and a lot more good from Romero than what we've seen from any of these guys over their course of period of time at Tottenham Hotspur. And yeah, we can sit here and add Romero to the problem, but if I'm Romero and Dyer's making mistakes left, right, and centre and being dragged out of position left, right, and centre, you're left guessing. You don't know whether to stick to your position. You don't know whether to get across and cover, and that leads to what we're seeing. And that's the harsh truth of it at the end of the day. People could sit here and say, Dave, you're wrong. You're not sitting there telling me I'm wrong about the defenders now, even though people were last summer. No one is. They're all sitting there agreeing with me. They're all sitting there bringing it up like it's fresh, like it's new. Oh, the defense is suddenly a problem. At the end of the day, Romero's farthest from our issue. And I'll ask people to trust me on this one. And at least he had a bit about him. He went up the other end and put a beautiful ball through for Sonny and tried to make up for his mistake. What did Dyer do? Answer me. You can't, because he done absolutely fuck all. Absolutely fuck all. And what I will say is, look, hold judgment on Romero. You're forgetting this guy went and won a World Cup and started the whole way through the World Cup. You don't win a World Cup if you're a bad defender. You don't play every game in the World Cup if you're a bad defender. He played in the back four. We know Romero's not useless. He won Italian Defender Serie A Defender of the Year over in Italy at some stage as well. Oh no, sorry, that might have been Bremer. Actually, I could be wrong on that. But we know this guy's not a bad defender. Yeah. We know he's not a bad defender. We know he's a good defender. We know that. And I just think it's silly to have these conversations. Question yourself. Why do we keep signing players and then they're the ones first out the door rather than longer term issues? And you know what that leads to? Sacking managers as well. It leads to fans being unhappy as well. So let's actually start dealing with the real issues first instead of deflecting. Because that's what that is. That's deflecting from the real issues, in my opinion.
I think just quickly, I'd sooner give the benefit of the doubt to a bunch of the new players that have been brought in, like the Bentancurs, like the Emersons, like the Romeros, etc. of the world that we brought in, the Kulusevskis, all those players that we brought in just quite recently. I'd give them sooner the benefit of the doubt under a new manager, under a new sort of tenure, under a new project, and see what they're made of and see what they can do, than I would give any sort of benefit of the doubt to a large group of players that really need to go. And it's not like it's a few players that need to go, it's a large group of players that need to go from a previous sort of tenure. And a lot of players that are going to be coming back on loan that we've been trying to ship off as well. So I just think Romero falls very, 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 very far down the pecking order when it comes to players that maybe could be thought about being moved on or et cetera, things like that.
And look, King Huddle, you know me, I don't avoid any subject. I'll always share my opinion. I'll share it whether people like it or not. However, I've come to a point. Who's it helping having a discussion? Because if Romero goes out the door before Dyer, what then? It's not helping anyone having that conversation. What it is helping is having conversation on the problems that have been here longer term. You know, no one questions why we've had 2 turnovers, 2 rebuilds under different director of footballs, one under Paratici, one under Steve Hitchin. Why do we keep blaming the new players coming in here instead of just focusing on the real problem? And I've got to the point. I get, you know, he's made a couple of mistakes the last while. I get it. But he's nowhere near as bad as everybody else. Everybody's been shit the last while. Nearly everybody's been shit. You know, it's kind of got to the point where everything is flat at the football club. But Romero's a good player. And for me, all it is just deflection. It's because people don't want to sit there and really deep down talk about Dyer, Hugo Lloris, Sanchez, Davies, because they remind them of fluffy, great times. That's why. But all that side stuff, it's just side stuff. It's side noise. It's all it is. Getting rid of Romero is not going to improve this football club. Getting rid of Eric Dyer is. So for me, I'm at the point now where I'm just not entertaining that. You know, we sit here, we talk about midfield. We sit here, we talk about Harry Kane, and it's like, why? Why? They're not the problem. If we had a good defence, we could defend in a back four, which puts an extra body in midfield, which solves the problem of us being played about. And Jack's shown there, you sell Harry Kane exactly where we'll be next season. So let's stop having all these side discussions and let's actually have real discussions about these guys that actually really cost us. Because all I ever hear is, oh, you can't boo Sanchez, he's human. Oh, stop being so mean to Eric Dyer, but he's had a couple of good games here and there. Well, if that's good enough for you, I don't want to hear anyone else complain anymore about how shit this fucking team is to watch. I just don't. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm sick of it. Eric Dyer is the problem, not Romero, and that's it at the end of the day. And I'm going to die on that hill. I'm going to die on that hill. What else do we have? Do you prefer football with or without VAR? For me, I've said this a long time ago, it's got to go. It's not serving its purpose, and they can easily rig games on the league table by doing it. For me, there's definitely benefit for them not sending off Diogo Jota and keeping Liverpool in a European hunt. That's where I'm at with it. I've said before it's corrupt. Jack, I don't know. You don't have to agree with me if you don't believe it's corrupt. I do, but where are you at?
I think clearly with the instruments that referees have been given, they don't really know how to use them, or at least there's not been the proper training maybe for them to know how to use them. It also could be the case that considering that the majority of referees come from like a previous era before these sort of kind of new instruments of technology and everything that they're using, that they also just aren't really capable of kind of using this sort of new style and new sort of methods of kind of refereeing the game. So if the majority of the referees are pretty bad at using most of the new gadgets and everything that they've been given, being VAR, offside, and all that sort of stuff, then I feel like there's really no point in using it, even if it is available to them, because if they're going to misuse it, might as well just let them, sort of make, bad calls in the real time instead of waiting 10 minutes for them still to make the wrong call.
Yeah, it's for me, it's all killing all passion out of the game as well. It's killing it when you have to sit there and you have to wait to celebrate.
If they're going to make the wrong call after 8 minutes of watching something, I'd rather just make it in the real time.
Then I'm not even going to spend time on this because I've already
I think we went well into that.
But why is idiot Dyer not being dropped? Don't know why he keeps being persistent to be put out there. Others have sort of been dropped for bad performances. Why not this guy? Will he go this summer? If not, why? Yeah, I'm just not even going to entertain that one anymore. Sick of that guy. I've already blew my gasket on it. And then where will Spurs finish? 5th Europa, 6th Europa, 7th Conference League, or 8th out of Europe?
Am I right by saying 6th would be Europa League as well, Dave? Isn't it like the Europa League qualifiers, or would that also be the Conference League? No.
No, Europa League 7th
Okay.
is Conference League, and 8th, I believe, is outside of Europe, how it stands.
So we're competing with the likes of Liverpool at this moment. They're sitting 5th. I think Brighton, of course, 3 games in hand. They're going to be climbing up the table. And then it is also Aston Villa as well that will be kind of competing with in these sort of positions. I reckon Liverpool, probably with the way they've been playing, might finish maybe somewhere in that range. I don't know if they'll finish 5th, though, because I think they do have a very leaky defense still, which is obviously the case. So they might actually still struggle. But you could see, I think, Brighton finishing ahead of us with all the games they have in hand. But they have a lot of tricky games, which we looked at, Dave. And then Aston Villa, we'll see how, I guess, our game goes. If we somehow pull off a miracle there, then maybe we do have a good chance of finishing ahead of them. But if, we drop points against them, then probably not. Absolutely not. So I probably reckon maybe 7th, but I really don't doubt 8th. Like, it's a very real possibility, 8th.
Very real possibility right now. Look, we'll see where we're at after Aston Villa. But just quickly to get back to Dyer, just quickly, I won't be too long, I promise. I know people are sick of it. Well, actually, you shouldn't be, because I speak facts on the guy. But look, when it comes to Eric Dyer or Romero, at least we know where he can improve. And he's at an age where he will improve. Eric Dyer is past the point of improvement, and no one even knows where to start to get the guy to improve. So that's my final say on that. But look, I think we've caught up. I think we'll start getting on some guests, Jacko, will we?
Yeah, let's bring him on here. And it's been a while since we've had this guy on, Dave. The Godfather is making a return.
Yeah, I can't wait to get him back on. Just quickly, everyone absolutely smash that like button. We want to get over 100 likes on all streams. That would be awesome. Also, feel free to smash that subscribe button and help us reach 10K. And also, feel free to send in a super chat and show your support for the channel. Highlight your comment. It guarantees we'll bring it up and have a good discussion on it. But look, we do understand it's very tough times out there as well. So at least just keep watching and engaging with us through the chat. But look, let's kick it off. We've got the one and the only, the Godfather. Hopefully he's here to make everyone feel better. Big up Steve D out there as well. And Jeff Ives
Big up Steve D.
Hey, look, how are you keeping, my man?
Make everybody feel better. I think the difficult that can manage the impossible, forget it.
Well, look, sometimes all you have to do is sort of speak, Philip, and people listen, and you make them feel better, even though you may not think you do. So look, Philip, where do you want to kick this off? What do you want to talk about?
Well, everywhere I've looked in the last 3 or 4 weeks, right, all I'm hearing about is our defense is crap, Dyer is crap, and I can't disagree with that, right? But we know that. Nothing's going to change for the end of the season. Our defense is crap now. It's going to be crap at the end of the season. It's what happens in May. It's what happens in June and July. That's the important thing. Like, my worry is that in the search for a new manager, it's going to be determined by one or two things. One, is he going to be told by Levy or whoever that he's got money to buy 2 new centre backs, which is, let's face it, the dogs on the street that don't even know what football is know we need 2 centre backs, right? Yeah. Or else we're going nowhere, absolutely nowhere. We need a new goalkeeper, right? Is he going to get money for that? Right? Okay. Levy promises all the earth, wind, and stars to get all the money players we need. Then are we going to get into Europe? Will Nagelsmann come if the team's not in Europe? Probably not. So there's a lot of things that have to be sorted out in the next few weeks, And by the way, your mate Madison just missed a penalty for Leicester. But anyway,
he's not my mate. He's not my mate.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Now, I'll tell you what I'd like to concentrate on a bit. I know we were all disgusted by the start that we've made to the last 3 matches. Absolutely disgraceful. But let's not tar the whole team with the same brush as the defense, right? There was spirit shown yesterday, even though it might have been too late and should have come earlier. There was spirit shown. Are you saying Harry Kane wasn't trying yesterday? I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
As with the midfield players, Oliver Skip played his heart out. So there was some good points to be taken for the way that we came back at Liverpool and should have won the match, really. Because I know you're going to discuss VAR later on. If VAR had done their job, we probably would have got 3 points in that game yesterday. Because Liverpool would have been down to 10, maybe 9 men. We would have had Oliver Skip wouldn't have had to go off injured. And I just feel that we're just in a run at the minute where, let's just say, if Kim Kardashian had triplets, I'd be the one on the bottle. Get what I'm coming from?
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely better than anything I could have come up with. That's quality. Philip, why do we keep going down so early? Because look, for me, it's not just been this sort of period. There's a period earlier on this season. We found ourselves 3-0 down to Leeds at halftime. We had to come back, win that 4-3. We were down 2-0 at Bournemouth as well earlier on the season. Had to come back, win that 3-2. There's plenty of evidence that this has been happening all season long.
Yeah.
Why do we keep conceding so early? Because a lot of people were putting it down to Conte and the pre-match warm-up that he got them to do. Everyone was saying that 2 kilometers is too far to run, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But it's since been changed and it's still happening. So does it come down to mentality? Does it come down to preparation from the players themselves? Does it come down to the team talk that the manager's giving them? What do you put it down to? You're an experienced guy in football.
I put it down to the opposition doing their homework and knowing that we're vulnerable at the very start of matches. And look what's happened in the last 3 games. And not only that, it's happened before in the season as well. Spurs, for a lot of this season, haven't started to play until the 46th minute. We know that. And teams know, other teams know this. They do. They've their scouting done. They know what to do. Teams press us from the start and we can't cope with it. And it's evident against Newcastle and United and Liverpool in the last 3 games and numerous games before that. So until we get the mentality right, I know this sounds like a bit of a joke, but Spurs need to have the halftime team talk before the game starts, because we don't start playing until the second half in a lot of matches. But it's that there's a weak mentality in the defense. These players know we're criticizing them. I mean, I take your point. I don't want to start next season. I don't want to see Ben Davies or Eric Dyer anywhere near the place, right? What I want to see is a centre back lining up like Laporte from Man City. I'd love to see him come in and put his arm around Christian Romero and say, "Right, lad, you do what I do and you'll be okay." Mm-hmm. Romero is a good defender amongst bad defenders at the moment, and it's bound to rub off on him. And he's making rash challenges. He's not timing his tackles right, and he's losing the head a little bit too early. But put a good centre back in alongside him. I think we'll see the real Romero next season. Because, we're not that far off being a really good side. We lost Bentancur, we lost Basuma, and that's a huge loss, especially Bentancur. But we put in two decent centre-backs, a goalkeeper, and we've also got Destiny Udogie coming in the summer, which is going to stiffen up the left-hand side a bit. So we're not too far away from being a very good team. Now, maybe I'm sounding too positive, but I feel there's been enough negativity over the last while. This season, we can write it off at 7th or 8th at best, I think.
I do know what you mean, Philip, by how I think King Hoddle meant it in a similar way, too, that a certain core of players did show fight. A certain core of players did show unity. They did show that they do care and they can pull themselves together in some shape or form. I don't think it is the whole team. That it is definitely at least some sense of players that do actually have some heart and actually do at least have some mettle about them that they can sort of battle through these sort of conditions. And the other thing as well is, I would ask you, do you think the surgery that is required on the defense, I think it's probably maybe 3 center backs need to go, whatever combination of the many center backs that are useless that we have, is, your choice, but 3 of them I think need to go. And then probably 2 at the very least, maybe 3 ideally need to come in, and then a goalkeeper too. So it's 4 players at least for the defense, that are probably coming in maybe this summer is what we're looking for. So it's big surgery.
It is big surgery, but it's surgery. Like, I can see Sanchez, Rodon, and Dyer being the casualties in the summer, because we don't really Rodon can't even get a game for Rennes at the minute.
Yeah,
so no chance for him coming back. Sanchez, well, we all know about him anyway, and even though I don't agree with the booing, I have to say that. But we need we bring in Laporte and maybe one other, right? If Laporte, Romero, and another, and possibly Longley as your central defenders, that should be good enough to do away with the dross we've had to look at this season. Because if you got once Porro has bedded in a bit more and Udogie on the other side, that's a decent sounding defense on paper, But then again, a defense never did anything on paper. It's on the pitch. They need to do it, and get either likes of Madison or Ward-Prowse in. Actually, Madison, apart from missing the penalty, is having a good game for Leicester tonight. They're winning 2-1 at the minute. Oh, by the way, Seamus Coleman's got a very bad injury. He's actually gone off on a stretcher. It looks bad for him. But anyway, that's not to do with Spurs. No, I'm going to say we're going to finish 7th this season. We're going to finish 7th. We'll get in the Conference League. And the eternal optimist in me tells me that if the team can improve, if we can start maybe getting the referees to be able to handle VAR correctly, because yesterday was an absolute aberration, really. How Paul Tierney can hold his head up, I just do not know.
Philip, it's obvious. They want Liverpool in Europe. They can't have the darlings of Europe not in Europe. It's so obvious.
Yeah, I know.
It's so obvious.
I take your point. I mean, I just think
it's not a good indictment in the Premier League if you've got Aston Villa, Brighton, and teams like that, and then you've got Liverpool and Chelsea outside of Europe. It's not a good indictment for the Premier League. Liverpool have always qualified through the league for Europe. Of course, they're going to make the decision to put Liverpool in there. It's all about this at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course it is. Like I saw a tweet this morning. I thought it was very funny. I thought you'd appreciate this one. Somebody said if it'd been Harry Kane doing what Jota did yesterday, they'd have him out before the firing squad this morning.
It's so true. It's so true. Look at the outrage when he went down there against, who was it, Decore against Everton?
Yeah.
Saying diving all over the place.
Gets clawed in the eyeballs, and they're saying he could have gone. He didn't need to milk it, and all these things. If he did with Jota.
But even I have to say, like, I haven't seen one expert so far that said that Jota shouldn't have been sent off. Even Jamie Redknapp thought he should be sent off. But that with the penalty situation, and then Klopp at the end. That fella wants a good slapping. He really does.
Philip, did you see when he dropped to his knees on the sideline at some stage? He just actually during the game, where a decision went against him, he dropped to the sideline and started rolling around and everything like a grounded child. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And he tried to celebrate in like the third official's face, or he ran up to him like for the fourth goal or something, and then pulled his hammy. Like I don't even know what he was going up to the official for. I couldn't even understand what he was complaining about, because Richarlison got his yellow for like taking off the shirt, like, and everything. I don't really know what else they really want for it. Like after that, like I just didn't even get it. Like he really is a Karen. He really is a Karen. I
think he'd been in the fourth official's ear the entire game anyway. He always is. Himself and Arteta are the two past masters at that, But
yeah, they are intolerable.
That's why maybe Ryan Mason should have been a little bit more nasty. I mean, it's not okay being nice, but you have to meet these boys, beat fire with fire here. And I'm just hoping now that they can steady the ship for next Saturday. Like, I don't want to finish 8th. I just do not want to finish outside the European places. I don't think that's going to be good for anybody.
Do you think
it could easily happen? It could easily happen,
Would our next manager, Philip, really would they want to be in the Conference League? Like, let's be honest, or would they rather us just finish 8th?
Well, I think if Vincent Kompany's in the frame, I don't think he'd be too pushed. Because coming from Burnley, everything's an improvement. Now, with all due respect to Burnley fans, they've done brilliantly this season. Really.
But maybe all the extra games, new to the Premier League, he might like actually, being able to prepare, for each and every game, having a lot of time to prepare for them rather than the fixture congestion.
Absolutely. But I see Scott Munn and Daniel Levy went to Dusseldorf this morning.
Scott Munn didn't look too happy with the photo.
I believe they're out in Frankfurt, I believe.
Is it Frankfurt? Well, Frankfurt's only I suppose. But now I'll tell you why Scott Munn wasn't too happy, because Daniel Levy wouldn't pay for his coffee.
He didn't look too happy in the photo.
No, he didn't. Look, Levy was trying to travel incognito, I think, with the jeans and the t-shirt on him. I wasn't too, But now let's hope that they're doing that.
What you didn't see on the front, it had Levy out.
Yeah.
He's trying to blend in.
Just for people who don't know what we're talking about, there was a picture captured today of Daniel Levy and Scott Munn at London City Airport.
At a little cafe, like an airport cafe or something before their flight or whatever.
I know. Oh God. Well, if they're in Frankfurt, I don't know whereabouts is Nagelsmann. Probably living in Munich. So I'm just wondering, is there another German manager on the scene that we don't know about?
Glasner, technically, if they were going to
Yeah.
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt's not 100% confirmed. But that's what I've seen somewhere. I'm not sure how true it is, but like you're right, he could be out there to Nagelsmann, because I know Scott Munn a few weeks ago was out with Arne Slot in Holland, so it probably does make sense that he's out there going towards Nagelsmann.
Yeah, right. Okay. Oh well, I just hope it doesn't go on as long as the Nuno fiasco. That when how many days, 80 or 90 days before we approach him. I think it's 38 days at the moment and counting for Conte since Conte left. So anyway,
this is a long interim period for Ryan Mason and Stellini. It's probably one of the longer ones in a while, you would say, for a manager.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I must say, I think Ryan Mason, the fair dues to him. I know he's had 2 difficult games to start with. He's done okay, and I think he's probably looking to the future as well, because if someone like Company comes in, it's unlikely Mason will be kept on, because Company will have his own men, whereas Nagelsmann might be wanting a bit of local knowledge to steady the ship a bit when he arrives, But I suppose we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what happens, whether Mason sort of wants to go and cut his own cloth, or whether he's sort of content to sort of be in and around the club. Because wasn't Duncan Ferguson sort of in the same situation at Everton for a period of time?
Yeah,
he was coming in, taking over, and wasn't sure whether they want to cut his cloth. But Nagelsmann also might feel a bit of fear by having someone like a Mason there, feeling that he might be running back to Levy and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see what Nagelsmann wants to do there.
I think the reason Duncan Ferguson was there too long, and everybody was scared to sack him. He was such a tough character on the pitch.
Brian Mason's very cool looking hoodies and everything would suggest that maybe Nagelsmann might like him, though. Suggesting
maybe.
He's dressing
whatever
fashionably.
happens, this is a hugely important appointment. Whoever gets it, it's got to be done right. It's got to be the right one this time. We cannot afford another false dawn, because we'll slip down the order so much. Like with the likes of Newcastle coming up now with their money, so the top 6 is no longer the top 6 if Newcastle keep going the way they are,
Do you trust the current structure to be able to get this decision right, though, Philip?
Probably not, because there's such a history of not getting it right. But then again, when you think about it, when Conte came in, we all thought this is it. A proven manager, won things everywhere he went. Didn't work out.
It's everything in the background, like not signing defenders, even though it was a huge problem before he got here. It's sort of like there's a chance they could get in like the right manager, but not do right by that manager to sort of aid him,
Well, that's true. I mean, look at what Harry Redknapp said to you, David. That it's not so much Daniel Levy, it's Joe Lewis.
Yeah.
So how do we know? It's there's an awful lot going on at Tottenham that we never ever get to hear about.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's not good, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got to get it sorted out at some stage, because fans can't bear it anymore. And look, I've no doubt the owners don't want it to be like this either. I get that. They want to run on a self-sustainable model so they can sort of make money. And look, they're going to make money from what they bought the club for what they're going to sell it for. They've made an absolute colossal profit, and not actually having to put too much money in between when they bought and when they ever sell it. They've made absolute colossal profits. I just hope that they can find it within them, or they find the money, inject it, try and sell off a lot of these players what they can, and sort of get money back, and just give us everything we need going into next season. They've got to realize it's not as easy as just changing a manager, because for the last 4 years we've just relied on a manager bounce, and that's what relegation teams do. We've gone through 3 managers this season. That's what relegation teams do. Harry Kane has 12 months left on his contract. Take out his winners and equalisers this season. That puts us in the just above relegation zone. So this club is heading in one direction if they don't get it right. So I beg, please, this time, not only to bring in the right manager, but bring in the right players to help them succeed.
We can always have a car boot sale to get rid of the defenders in the end of the season.
Sell some of your antiques there, Philip. Will we be worth fortunes?
No, not that old. Anyway.
But look, Philip, anything else you want to address or you want to talk about before we let you go, my man?
No, I mean, no, this has been such a difficult period for all Spurs fans, and I mean, I know I get abuse from, well, not good-hearted abuse from my Arsenal and United friends, and it's hard to put up with. What we need to do now is turn it around in the last 4 or 5 matches of the season. Let's just show there's a bit of fight left in the club. Get the managerial appointment. Enjoy the summer, and we'll be back the same old thing next August, hoping again against hope that we win something.
Do you know what? Yesterday, I think, you sent in a super chat yesterday. It was the first time in a long time I've seen you angry with this football club. And when Philip's angry with the football club, we've got big, big problems.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see, to be honest with you. Just maybe one last quick question, Philip. I see a lot of people, and it's more so sort of, and I don't mean to be rude by this, this is what I sort of see. It sort of stems from the older generation who have witnessed the Bill Nick era, Tottenham winning UEFA Cup, Super Cup, stuff like that, where they feel disconnected from the club, Philip. Could you maybe give a bit of insight on why you think the older generation are feeling disconnected from this football club?
I don't think it's just the older generation, Dave. I think everybody feels disconnected at the moment. I don't think it can be put down to an age group. I think the fact that the booing that's been evident at the pit, that's not just older generation people booing. That's everybody. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a case of we went into 2019 with a new stadium, right? Champions League final. Future was so rosy, but it's gone backwards since then. I think a lot of that is just proved. And the ownership problem, the fact that Levy and Enix really should be gone long ago and aren't. I think that's what's caused it. But it's not just the elderly, the older population.
No, but I see more coming from elderly where they say it more so than like a younger person is just more like, look, I'm pissed off with the club, I'm fed up. Whereas I see a lot of the older generation using that word, disconnected. I don't feel connected to the club.
Well, I think a lot of the old generation have probably been nostalgic and sentimental and go back to the 90s and the 80s when we won stuff, not for fun, but we were winning stuff regularly. And that's what we all want to be back at, really. And when that happens, I think you'd be very surprised how quickly the disconnect can become a connect once the team is successful.
Yeah.
It's just a state of mind, really,
Yeah. Well, look, Philip, why don't you tell us what's coming up over on your channel, THFC today?
We have a podcast coming out tomorrow that we recorded earlier, which is pretty hot and heavy at times about, various aspects of the club, VAR and the refereeing situation, and Eric Dyer, of course, he features everywhere. And that's on tomorrow about lunchtime. And then we'll be doing the usual news beat every day. And then come the weekend, preview of Crystal Palace. Matt will watch it on during the game. And I hope it's a post-mortem afterwards and not an autopsy.
Yeah. Well, you look, last time against Palace, we smacked them 4-0 in the middle of being absolutely woeful, in the middle of a woeful spell. So hopefully we can sort of come around and do something like that again.
Hopefully.
Let's wait and see, because I'll be honest, Phil, I can't take another defeat. Like, you know me, I despise
it. No.
I despise it. I can't take it.
If I had a cat, he'd be well kicked around the house at this stage, I tell you.
Be calling you Philip Zuma. But Philip, you've done it again. You've made us all feel better somehow, my man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. And hopefully we see a lot more of you back around here.
You will. As I said, I've been sort of sidetracking other things lately, but I'm back now, and you'll be
good to have you back.
Alrighty.
Love it. See you soon on a show this week.
Hopefully, up, my man, and go and enjoy the rest of the game.
Come on, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Philip. Oh, I love that man. I absolutely adore that man. He just makes me happy. I don't know why. Just speaking to him, I can unload and it just makes me feel better. I love him. Everyone, big up Philip in the chat. I know you love him as much as I do. Oh, Jacko. Want to keep going? Want to keep more?
Let's keep going, Dave. Keep bringing him in, Dave. Keep bringing him through. We have Ryan next. Let's see what he has to say.
Let's get him on. Big up, Ryan. How are we keeping, my man?
Right, mate. Just before we start, I better keep my cat away from fucking Philip now then as well. Not just Kurt Zuma. I better keep him away from Philip as well. Jesus. Blame it on. Sorry, Phil, but you ain't coming anywhere near my cat, mate. I'm sorry.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely. Well, look, Rhino, where do you want to start this call, my man? So many things to talk about.
Well, first of all, I done a live last night. Oh, blimey, that was great, weren't it? That's not come out of me nose on live. Fucking hell. I went live last night, and apparently Slot might be coming in.
Be interesting. It's be interesting to wait and see. I think there were sort of rumours that Scott Munn went out to Feyenoord not last week, the week before, to sort of have a meeting with Scott Munn. It does, or to have a meeting with Arne Slot. It does look like Scott Munn, although he's not supposed to be working for the club, somehow he is. It does look like he's going around speaking to people, which is interesting for me. I think, look, better late than never, I suppose. You know, it's probably why we've lost out on Pochettino, the fact that we never contacted him as well. Is Arne Slot the right man, though? And Ryan, like, you got to remember, this guy's only had 2 jobs in Holland, and I know he got the Feyenoord to Europa
Conference League final.
Conference League final. I know he's sort of pissing away the league with them and that as well, but
yeah,
I mean, a big step up. No, like Tottenham's a complete different animal. Like I watched a documentary, I think it was actually about Feyenoord. It's on one of them Disney Plus or Apple TV or something, and I know it was from a few seasons ago. But, you know, the size of the clubs are it's a complete different job taking over Tottenham.
Yeah, the thing is, right, because...
For everyone out there, I did watch it in Dutch as well, by the way.
Oh, blimey. So you know your Dutch then, Dave? Blimey.
No, I don't know my Dutch. I just wanted to see what the club and everything else like. There's bits of English in it. But
right.
Me,
yeah, well, I mean, from what I've heard, he plays champagne football and he keeps defences going pretty well, but I turned around and said last night, well, no one can keep this defence going. I don't even think a steam train can keep this defence going for God knows how long. I mean, it's
not even a can of Red Bull.
Yeah, not even a can of Red Bull. But no, like, anyway, I don't want to talk about this defence anymore. It's a joke. But
are you like what Philip was saying, where you just couldn't be more eager till the summer, basically, Ryan, for things to be happening? Because
you know what? It's funny to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I actually had the conversation with this, and I know where we're pissing all our money on. I know exactly where we're pissing our money on now. It's weird, isn't it? Right, we're pissing it on all the properties, all the football money that we're meant to be having is getting pissed on the fucking properties that Levy wants to buy. And then, right, do you know what happens with all the NFL and the concert money and all that, and all the boxing money? It goes on into the club, right, and pays the staff. That's where the money's all going, and it's a joke. It is stupid.
I think this is what people's sort of problem is no one actually has a breakdown or a detailed breakdown of where the revenue is being spent. And look, they don't have to put it out there. Let's be honest, they don't have to. But, you know, probably would ease their case, even if they just showed where the new revenue streams, where that money is going, it'd probably ease their case. But look, you know, as well, and this is in a defense, like, you know, when they built the stadium, there is certain objections they have to meet and they have to build in order for us to have that stadium. Fair enough. But it's just like...
But you don't
you want all your money going in that one direction, right? You know, you sort of don't want, you know, money being spent on properties and building, and they're saying that money's not going there, but I have no doubt some of it is being put aside for it, no doubt.
Yeah, it is. And do you know what is happening here, Dave? Right? It's weird because it's, you know, like when you're on a farm, for example, yeah, and you have to feed your pig, right? Before you slaughter it, right? So you got to get it to a right size. That's what Levy's doing. He's feeding the pig of the club. That's the club. And then he's going to take the club to the slaughterhouse and sell it on for a shitload of profit.
Yeah, they're going to make massive money out of it. Like I was saying with Philip, Ryan, you know, it's sort of like what they bought the club for. With what they've built, the infrastructure around the club, and what they end up going to sell it for without actually having put much money in for transfers, etc. in between, they're going to make huge profit. Of course they are. Of course they are, especially with the way football clubs are valued now, you know.
Yeah.
But do you believe anyone will actually come in with the money they're looking for? Because whether people like it or not, whether I like it or not, they're the ones with the money. They're the ones that bought the club. They can set the selling price. Do you believe anyone out there has the money to be able to buy it off the owners?
Only if we want to go down the route of the Man City route. And to be honest, then that means there's a whole new different problem, because then fans are then going to be, okay, well, we've got Levy out, but now our new problem is that we're just going to buy the league.
I don't think that's a problem, to be honest. It may be a problem with your own personal morals, but I don't think that's a problem buying the league. I mean, every week.
But do you know what I mean, though? Like, it's like, how many people in the chat right this minute can turn around and say they would be happy to buy the league? I mean, probably half of them might, but their morals, though, on your morals, think of it as morally, no one would really want that, would they? Like, would you want that, Dave?
You know what? I hear you, right? Morally. I hear you on that, Ryan. But look, let's be honest about it. We tried doing it the right way and we fell short. You know? You can't win a league by doing that anymore. Even when Leicester won the league, their owners, like, yeah, they bought smart and stuff like that, but their owners were putting some money into the club as well at the time and stuff like that. And it's like, this is just the way modern football is, whether I like it or not. It's the way modern football is. And at the end of it, I don't have a say who comes in and buys this football club. No. I don't have an opinion on it. I don't have a say. I don't have the money to be able to say different. I just have to accept whoever owns this football club. And if it's someone that comes in that has all the money in the world and stuff like that, what do you want me to do? I can't turn my back on a football club. I love it. It's all I've got.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more and more difficult for anybody to win the league with what basically is playing within your means, kind of not spending too much, not spending exorbitant amount of money each and every summer, going after the next best top prospect, all that sort of stuff. There are a bunch of clubs that have proven to be exceptionally successful, but winning the league in the Premier League, I don't know if you can actually go that far. I think you can win trophies, still by being a team like a Brighton. I think you can win trophies by being a team like a Brentford. I mean, it would show the fact that Brighton made it as far as they have in the Cups shows that you can go quite far with the means that they do even have. And I think it's the same thing with actually the likes of a Conference League or a Europa League or something like that. I don't really think you need to sort of buy the league in order to win any of those competitions. You just need to have some sense of competency within your scouting department, some sense of competency within your technical director, your director of football, and some sense of understanding through all those sort of levels that they know what players they're bringing in. They know what players they have in the future to replace those players. And it's really not all that complicated. We've even just seen the likes of, Luton Town just came all the way from non-league football and might even go into the Premier League or go into the Championship or whatever it is, I believe. I'm not even familiar with their story at all. It sounds stupid, but you know what I mean? I think they've even just made one of the most ridiculous sort of uprisings that's probably maybe less documented to even Wrexham's, and they didn't exactly have to buy the league in order to do it, right? It's just more competency. It's just more getting in the right people in the right areas, and then you can start punching above your weight. I would say, Dave, winning the league, competing the likes of Man City, all those sort of teams, I don't know if you can do that. I think you do probably need maybe the 300 million, type of summer in order to probably win the league or something like that. But I don't think you need to completely, spend a country's GDP amount of money in order to win a Europa League or in order to win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup, in my opinion.
Yeah, but do you know what, right? It's also the other thing that really hit a nerve with me that I don't think any of us have really thought about until I'm about to bring it up, is Levy deliberately, leaves this week somewhere to rely on Harry.
I'll be honest, I don't think it's sort of to rely on Harry Kane. We're left weak in certain areas because we run on a self-sustainable model. We want to sort of break even at the end of every tax year or at the end of every financial fair play. So I think that's sort of every 3 years, I believe. That's what we want. We want to be able to break even. It's nothing to do with relying on a Harry Kane or that, We want to spend as little money as possible and achieve the maximum as possible. And, look, it worked under Pochettino. It worked while we were building the stadium. We got close. But the reality is the club needed that little bit more injection in terms of players. Pochettino had to go 3 windows without a signing. Like that's an incredible feat, by the way. It's kind of like, it's like, even like you can get to a certain point doing things the right way, but at some point you do need that cash injection, and it just doesn't come. And it's not because they want to rely on players, this, that, and the others, because they want to break even. They don't want any losses. My friend Harry Redknapp told me Friday night, Joe Lewis is in it purely for the money, and the older he gets, the more frugal he's going to be, because he's going to want that to be passed down, and stuff like that. So, it's. I don't think it's just to rely on Harry Kane. It's just the business model they operate. Joe Lewis derives business model, and he put Levy in as chairman to make sure it's followed to the letter of the law.
Yeah, I mean, that's also another good point there, Dave. Like, I don't know, I just want the season over with. It's got me to the point that oh, I love Ellie. Big up Ellie, man. But
Zoe quickly as well, become a new YouTube channel. Remember, big yourself up, Zoe.
Big up, Zoe.
My dear. Make sure you get on and have a conversation with us one day, by the way. Zoe, great to see you. And Mia W, you've caught her attention, Rhino. She said there's a difference with getting money than breaking rules to win. Then I don't agree with. I want someone who cares about our club to buy it. And that's probably the most important thing, That's what I think everyone wants, someone who genuinely cares about the club. However, what I will just say to that quickly, Mia, is I think when you're talking about the amount of money involved, and this is just me speaking, this is personal opinion, and people can disagree with it all they want. I think when you're talking about the amount of money involved, I think the money, I think decisions will, how am I going to put this? The decisions that they make will always be, I think, be based more on money than what's good for the club, but purely because the amount of money we're talking about. And that's just how I feel on it. But I do hear you that we would be nice to have someone, like, even if we just get someone who says, look, I love Tottenham, I'm a big fan, I want to buy them, I'm going to inject as much cash as I can, and we're going on to win trophies, fine by me, no problem. But what would you say, Ryan? That's probably me is right? That's what the next come down to, how much they actually care about.
You know what, like, it's funny because I've over the last couple of days, it's weird because I think me and Mia are kind of on the same wavelength here, I think, because it's weird because Mia, first of all, big up for sending in that $5 to Dave and Jack. It helps them a lot. Big up. But no, seriously, like, I think I have to agree with Mia. Like, Mia has always got her own opinions, and not everybody agrees with her opinions, but everything I've heard coming out of Mia from Mia's channel and her out of her own mouth personally, she's correct. I can't disagree with any of it. I can't. It's she talks sense all the time, and I agree with her where I want someone to actually care for the club. And I think someone who will care about the club and who will actually sit down, bring in a competent manager for starters, because at the moment it doesn't seem like anybody's competent at the moment at doing anything. They're all incompetent. But also, it's like I've heard rumours saying, "Oh, well, what about Ryan Mason managing our club? What about it?" No, Ryan, you're not at the level yet to actually manage the club. Look, we love you. We think you're doing a good enough job at the moment as interim manager, but we cannot have you running our club. Please, I love you. Go and get some experience first, please, and then come back, and then we can probably sit down as a group, all of us, and start thinking, well, okay, maybe he's got this on his CV, he's got that on his CV. Let's give you a go. But please, at the moment, do not come anywhere near the job full time until you've got some experience, please.
Just quickly, right? I'm not advocating for Ryan Mason to get the job, and I don't want anyone to think I am. I don't want him to get the job. However, on the point you just said, Arteta didn't have any experience as a first-team manager walking into Arsenal. He only had experience as assistant. Could Ryan Mason be something similar to an Arteta?
Oh, Dave, you've only just gone and put a spanner in the works. What have you gone and done? You're making me rethink things. I know I was pushing with Jack
I'm not
on
pushing
one
for him to get the job, by the way. I don't think he's good enough to get the job or experienced enough to get the job, in my opinion. I think this club right now sort of needs someone who has more about them, in my opinion. However, you know, like I said, Arteta, he didn't have experience as a number one anywhere.
Dave, why do you have to do this to us, man? Why do you always put a spanner in the works? Jack, help me here.
I'm here to do, my man. That's what I'm here to do.
For me, Mia, I think to finish this is that I would say I don't think anybody wants to be involved in maybe sort of probably what Man City, right, could be going through potentially, right? I'm not sure if those sort of investigations have finished or anything. They could still get punished quite severely. Could be the case maybe with Chelsea at some stage. Maybe they might, get caught up with something with what they've done. And you see other kind of really big, sort of rich clubs, sort of break and bend a lot of the financial rules. And I don't think anybody wants to be a part of that in any way whatsoever. I think sort of where your owners are coming from is always a different story and is always something you don't exactly should really get into on these type of, fan shows. But I agree with you on the most part that nobody wants to be sort of a club that's sort of cheating or bending the rules any which way. Of course, maybe people would love, nobody would refuse, 100 more million, right? I think in any way, but you don't want it to be some way that sort of bends, the fabric of, the rules. Everybody wants to win, in the best and most fair way possible. I always agree with that. Big up, Mia.
Big up, Mia. Big up, Mia. Love that. Love that. Well, look, Ryan, what's coming up on your channel, man?
Well, I can see you having a big smirk already because you know that it's YouTube for starters. But no, seriously, I've got obviously the Harris and Flatcap Army coming onto the channel Wednesday. If that's a definite now, I think, is it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Definitely a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wednesday I've got these two. Then I've got all, like Jack already knows, I'm getting my fly squatter out ready for the transfers. All the rumours that are going to be coming around, so I'm just going to be squatting them like flies. Bish, bash, bosh. Out they go.
Ryan,
and then
the squasher.
Yeah, I'm just going to be, I'm just going to be real about it though, Dave. Like, that's something I'll be squashing quite a bit. Is a load of these rumours where a load of them will not go through, not because I've squashed them, and I don't want anyone to come at me at hate with that, because I'm only going to be squashing them because I know exactly how this club's going to go. But that's going to be happening every Monday after the first Monday after the first week after the transfer window opens on the Monday. So that'll be running all the way through until the end of the window. In between that, I've got I've spoke to my West Ham friend that he'll be coming on the 18th of July because there's a friendly fixture I didn't know if anyone knew about is
in Australia
out. So he'll be coming on every single time when we play West Ham now. So that's going to be fun.
Nice.
And then I'm just gonna play it by ear. I'm hopefully gonna be. I might at some point set up a podcast, but I don't know yet. I'm not gonna say that it's a definite because obviously I'm so young into the
Start with what you got. Start with what you got. Start with what you know. One step at a time.
Do you know what though, right? Everyone will probably would want to be hitting that subscribe button because if anyone likes to see someone squatting transfer rumours left, right, and centre, I'll be the place to do it. Literally, I'll be the place to actually be the person to
Ryan the ITK. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Ryan the ITK swatting away the rumours this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I bet a lot of you probably might be as well.
Good call in, Ryan, my man. And hopefully, I'm going to be seeing you Wednesday. It won't even be Friday. I'll be seeing you Wednesday.
Yeah, that'll be Wednesday. Yeah, it will be pre-recorded though, Jack. So if you are running a little late, mate, then don't worry because I'll start with Dave and then you jump in whenever.
You can guarantee the Yank will be late in some manner, shape, or form. You can guarantee.
We're always late. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
We're always late. It's a promise. We'll be late.
See you soon, brother.
You're
Good
right.
calling, Ryan.
Yep. See you later. See you
Catch
Wednesday.
you, brother.
Be yourself, brother. Peace, peace. Everyone get over and check out Tottenham Forever from Rhino. Big up, Rhino. Good call in, my man. We have a couple of super chats to get here, and there's also another sort of topic I want to discuss just quickly before we keep moving. Just quickly, big up Daniel Larson. He's no voice. That's why you're not seeing this man tonight. Hopefully you're all right. I don't blame you, brother. Big up Autism as well. Looking long time no see, David Jack. Good to see you, brother.
Big
And
up,
also
Autism.
Richard Coberman says, going to watch this tomorrow at work as the wife got a program on and keeps telling me off for listening. Glad to see the two main men here. Had a coronary induced by watching our great team. Not yet. I'm pretty sure that's coming though, Richard, but good to see you.
Good man,
Look,
Richard.
happy wife, happy life. That's what they say. So, don't risk it for us, my man. Don't risk it for a biscuit, brother. Big yourself up. Jerome says, money is not the issue. We are ninth richest club. It is poor recruitment over the past 8 years. And that's been the biggest problem. But look, also the reason why that happens is because we keep changing managers, Jerome. Different managers have different ways of playing, which requires different players, which requires your recruitment, your focus on your recruitment to be different every single time as well. So, one thing sort of leads to another. What we need is the next manager that we're appointing for me. It's got to be someone that, is going to be here for 4 or 5 years. And regardless of how bad it gets before it gets better, this club backs them. They got to realize what they've currently got is not good enough, and it's not enough. And you look at what our Arsenal done with Arteta, 8th, 5th, and 5th. But they continue to back the guy, continue to back him. And all Arsenal fans wanted him gone, and they got themselves into a title race this season. As much as I clown on them for losing that, which is great, by the way, and I'm still going to clown them. I'm going to clown them till the day I die. But I would want to be in a title race. I want to get back there. I want that excitement. I want that feeling. I want that nervousness in a good way going into games. And in order to do that, it requires bringing in one manager and continued investment. That's where I'm at with it. But you're spot on. Look, this is what Harry Redknapp said to me on Friday night. My good friend Harry, by the way. We are buddies now. And he said to me, look, Joe, Daniel Levy is not your problem. He says, Daniel Levy's actually a fan of the club. He likes the club. And this is only what Harry Redknapp's telling me. He says, Joe Lewis is your problem. That's where everything comes from. He's got the money and he doesn't want to spend it. He said he's richer than Abramovich, and he could have done for Tottenham what Abramovich has done for Chelsea, and he chooses not to. He's only in it for the money. And, I believe Harry Redknapp, because you best believe he's gone to them at times and he said, look, I want this and this and this. And they've turned around and says, no, that's not where we operate. We're going to lose money if we do this. So we're going to give you this and this. That famous quote from a January transfer window where he wanted, who was it? Tevez and someone else. Tevez and Cahill, and he got Ryan Nelson and Louis Saha. It sort of sums everything up, And like this is what I'm trying to say to Jeff Ives in the comments as well, where I see a lot of this, and I'm not having a go at you, by the way, Jeff, whatsoever. I'm not having a go, but many people saying that Joe Lewis's daughter, everyone's sort of getting behind her and that she's going to oust Levy. And people are thinking it's a great thing. I mean, look, I could be completely wrong, but for me, why all of a sudden would she care? Her father hasn't. Her father hasn't cared. It's all about the money. And I've no doubt she's making a power play for this football club. Because she knows if she's put in charge, whatever Daniel Levy says is going to trump her because he's been here for so long and been involved in it for so long. So what she wants is to oust him out so she can take full control. And there's no guarantee that she's going to take this club forward in the direction that people want them to. And I'm not pinning my hopes on her doing it either. I'm just not. And even more so with what Harry Redknapp said to me on Friday night, that, Daniel Levy's not your problem, Joe Lewis is. And she's a disciple of Joe Lewis. So for me, I'm not pinning my hopes on her being the savior of this football club if they don't sell. Nowhere near it. For me, I see it all the time. It's a power play.
What I would say to Jerome is I just don't believe that with the amount of money that Spurs have already spent, that you look at so much of it. I mean, a lot of it could have been spent so much better, and had a lot of it been spent better, we'd be in a much better place today. Steve Hitchens spent well over 400 million in the time that he was here at this club. I mean, think about how little we've actually gotten out of that. It just shows that you can waste 400 million, 300 million, 600 million, 30 million. It doesn't really matter how much. It can all go straight down the drain and get you absolutely nowhere. You can also spend absolutely no money whatsoever and actually get a huge return out of it. Spurs should be probably spending still, I think, in plenty of situations, probably could have spent more money when they easily could have maybe pushed it more. But to say that in any way that we don't, spend cash, or we are maybe, one of the little spenders of the Premier League, it's just not the case. We just have terrible, terrible, terrible recruitment. And also as well, I don't think we, when it comes to our targets, really have any idea who we really want. We just seem to sort of kind of play this sort of blind guessing game with the players that we maybe pursue in the summer. We don't seem to really ever have any sort of clear plan. But you look at the likes again, players in the Premier League that have been brought in for little or no money, and now all of a sudden, are, the top of the Premier League. And it just shows that even in Everton and teams like, in the bottom of the Premier League right now, they've invested, tons and tons of money. It's all gone down the drain, and they're finding themselves in a relegation battle as we speak. So I'm with you. I think a lot of it is down to recruitment, and a lot of it is down to getting that right. Absolutely.
Big up Jerome, my man. And he also says, reason why I don't want Mason is that Dyer will definitely be getting a new contract. So no thanks. For sure he will. For sure he will. They're good friends, They're good friends, Ryan Mason and Eric Dyer. Been around each other sort of for a long time. And look, well, I can't really say that because, to be fair, Conte didn't drop Dyer either, but Ryan Mason's definitely not going to drop Eric Dyer. Look, Mason, nice guy. Yeah, he's done all right. Liverpool and United game, two very tricky fixtures to sort of come in for. He's done an all right job, I guess. I just don't think he's the right man to take us forward, to be honest with you, Jerome. And to be honest, if I'm Ryan Mason, I think he needs to leave the club to come back as well, because I believe if the club were to offer him the manager's job, they're going to shortchange him in terms of wages and stuff like that, because he's already sort of here. Whereas if he left and came back to accept the job, he's in the negotiating position. He can sort of get what he, what on par of what other managers would get. So for me, look, I'm just not sure Mason is the right man right now. I think we need someone who actually has experience in a first team job right now. Jerome, Jack, anything you want to say to Jerome?
I think Mason is making a fair crack at it. I think he's probably doing a better job than even Stellini was, to be fair to him. I think he is probably as well making the best decisions that he can, considering what is a shit situation. I just think that Mason needs to go about it, the way that every other manager should. And when it comes to Moonhead as well, he is probably a part of sort of that crew that, might be a bit too kind, to the likes of players like that, the well-established players. I think Mason is proving not to be an idiot, like in any way. I actually think he probably and could be a good manager in the future for some club, and then maybe down the road, 10 years later, who knows, could come back to Spurs. But he is also well too connected to the sort of core group of players, and he probably has a bit too much bias in maybe some certain ways towards them as well. And Dave and I were originally really fearful when Antonio Conte left, that there was going to be maybe a bit of a clean slate given to the likes of Dyer and these sort of, these core group of players, because the new manager could come in and may just sort of treat them all the same. And you never know, they could sort of win them all over again. And we just go through the exact same torture that we did last time. So Jerome, I'm very worried about the clean slate that a guy like, Eric Dyer could get, Sanchez could get under a new manager, or even a Ryan Mason. But to be fair to Ryan Mason, I think he's doing a good job. He's not making himself look like an idiot or anything.
Yeah, is what we'll say. But big up, Jerome, my man. Really appreciate the support, brother. But look, we will keep this moving. Jacko, can you bring on the next guest? I just need to go and turn off this heat, and I'm sweating like a pig.
No worries, Dave. Bring on the KPV.
Hello.
KPV, what's going on, my friend? The likes of a James Maddison is playing in a relegation derby right now. What are you thinking about that? Can I see you? Wait a minute. Let me just pull this down. I feel like you're wearing a Man City shirt. Is this right, KPV?
Yeah, I'm on loan at C, man. I'm on loan.
What are you wearing a Man City shirt for? You're on loan to Man City. You're helping out Pep.
Yeah, I'm helping out Pep. Just make sure that our rivals don't win the league. Just make sure Arsenal don't win the league. So I'm on loan at City.
Were you doing any shirt swapping with the Man City fans after we smacked them in our own place?
No, I'm just on loan to
you
make
stole
sure
that off the Man City fan.
Win the league. So I'm on loan because Expressions is a City fan apparently. He's a City fan. Expressions losing, but
you're helping him out.
Yeah, I'm helping him out so Arsenal don't win the league because Arsenal have already bottled it, and so they're not winning the league. But Man City do have West Ham Wednesday, so Arsenal need a favour. But man, there's City's going to win anyway. So West Ham have done pretty good at the moment, but they're not probably going to win. A draw would probably help Arsenal because Arsenal would go top if City don't win on Wednesday. But they're playing Chelsea tomorrow. Arsenal probably. I know they're both like both at the top and the bottom, but Chelsea could even go down if they don't win all the remaining games. Then we don't have to
APV.
play.
What do you think? Where will Spurs finish this season, my friend? Let's talk about the mighty Tottenham Hotspur.
Where do you think?
Where do you want us to finish amongst these choices? Because I don't think it's going to be fourth. I think that's long gone now at this stage. Where do you think Spurs are finishing? Are we finishing fifth in the Europa League spots? Sixth place could be Europa League as well. Seventh, eighth. What are we talking about, KPV? Where are we finishing?
I'd hope probably fifth because that would give us obviously group stage Europa League. Obviously not qualifiers. I know sixth is qualifiers. Like 3 seasons ago, the season Liverpool won the league, we finished seventh, and that was the qualifiers of the Europa League. We had to qualify to get into the group stages, and we done that when Mourinho was there during the pandemic season. Liverpool won the league, and then we had to qualify to get in a group stage of the Europa League, and not a great time for us in the Europa League. We lost to Zagreb. The guy scored a hat trick who's at Southampton. Orsic. Like Southampton are going down, but Orsic scored against us. Then he scores against.
Do you think Spurs, with how far West Ham have gone in the Conference League, do you think Spurs would have a chance of winning in the Conference League, or do you just feel like we would just bow out in some embarrassing way, KPV?
I think it will probably be the same way as it was last season. We couldn't play Wens. We only played them away, and then our home game was postponed because of I think it was some of their players had the coronavirus, and we had to forfeit it, and we lost 3-0. Like, how's that?
Well, I don't think it's not going to transpire in that way. Is it just going to transpire in that we just don't get the points that we need? Because the way it kind of ended with the Conference League was sort of, I think, very special circumstances, to be fair.
Yeah, that would have given a chance to finally win something. But Thursday, playing Thursdays again, Arsenal fans think they will North London, but no, North London is right. And they belong on Thursdays, Tottenham belong Tuesday, Wednesdays. But I don't want finishing 7th Conference League again. As David touched on, we lost to NS Mora and the other team, whoever it was, Wens, we lost 3-0 at home as a forfeit. But, I don't know. I don't want that again. Europa League, I'd rather win because, yeah, Villarreal won it. Unai Emery was the manager, so he's a Europa League, winner. So he's won it multiple times.
Do you want to see maybe the likes of Spurs playing only once a week, basically most weeks, KPV, or would you rather see Spurs playing as much as possible?
I'd probably say much as possible, once a week. I know Arsenal done it. They were supposed to play, I think PSV at home, but they couldn't because of Her Majesty the Queen passed away, and that game was meant to be played, but it didn't happen. But I'd rather say I'd probably see us play as much as possible, not once a week like the Gooners. They played Thursdays, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever. Them days. You can't play a Premier League game and Europa League game during the same week. They were actually supposed to play City at home in September, but as I said, the Queen passed away, so that game didn't. It was in February, and they lost, and they just lost recently to see. So, I don't want it being like that. We were supposed to play City at the Etihad in September, but as I said, the Queen died. So, it was after I think it was after the Leicester game, or was it before? I don't know. It was the 10th of September it was meant to be, but
enough about the calendar dates, KPV. Flexing the calendar dates. Do you prefer football with or without VAR, KPV? What do you think? What do you think of Jota's red card? I saw that you changed your name even. You changed your, Jota. You're very upset with, I think, him. He shouldn't have been on the pitch, right?
Yeah, he shouldn't have been on
Yeah.
the pitch. And like that's a clear word. Even my mate agreed when I went to his yesterday. We watched the game and I saw it. Like, how has he not been sent off? Jamie Redknapp even said he should have been sent off. And how has he not been sent off? Like, dirty tackle from a Portuguese prig like him. How has he scored a winner? Like, how? He shouldn't even be on the pitch. We should have gotten a point there. Yeah, we
Should
lost.
Skippy have been on the pitch as well, though? Some people are making the case Skippy kind of had a pretty nasty challenge as well.
I
Maybe 2
thought
red
that
cards.
was a red. I thought
Yeah,
that
we
was
said it
red.
during the watch along. We said that was a red.
Like Ben and Sim said that about Skip as well. They said it about Kane when we played them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last season, but David got it spot on. He got the ball before he touched Wobbo, and then Wobbo got sent off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, like attacking Emerson Royale. And Ben and Sim think Kane should be sent off. Nah. Lies, boys. Lies, Ben and Sim. And you're saying Skip should have been sent off. Chat shit, Ben and Sim. Watch what I'm coming for you this weekend, boys. I'm coming. You're getting told off by me. And
look, KPV, I think. Look, Jota's one was worse, right? I mean, it's to the head. It's a high boot. It's a red card. But
bleeding.
Skips was over the ball. It was above the ankle as well. It was like, I remember, I've seen legs being broken from that. And look, I think, look, both of them were a red card, but Jota was more of a red card. And Jota's pissing people off more because he went and scored the winner, right? And they're saying he shouldn't be on the pitch. But look, reality is Skips was a red card as well.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like Skippy too has gotten away with some pretty nasty challenges this season. I feel like I've seen some pretty high challenges that I'm sliding through. And I'll be honest, Skippies are not like Romero's, where Romero does it with a bit more kind of, I don't know, class, I would say, whereas Skippies are kind of like very dangerous, like they come off as more reckless than maybe, and kind of out of control, at least in my opinion. I don't know. If I were to compare two people that like to challenge people and, who like a nasty challenge, Skip definitely likes a nasty challenge, but sometimes his are a bit out of control, I would say, where it's kind of, I'll be honest, I think he's gotten away with a few reds this season.
Yeah, remember, I know he's only had 2 and Emerson Royale had 1, but like, so it's basically Romero 2, Emerson Royale 1. Or Emo go, as Barry said, Emerson Chicken Royale, David says. Like, yeah, but Royale only had 1 red. So he's probably the third Spurs player, then Romero was 4. So, but yeah, Skip, like, Skip had to take 1 for the team just to make sure Liverpool couldn't score, because that would have been, I think, the second goal or third. Then we would have lost 5-3, because 5-3 has probably been some tough scores for different teams like that. And so so Skip had to take 1 for the team. And so well done to the academy graduate.
What'd you make of Richarlison's goal, KPV? Were you doing the pigeon celebration?
No, I watched it with my mate yesterday when I went round to his. And
you didn't do the pigeon celebration in his face.
Yeah, he was doing a pigeon as he always does. And he done that every time he scores offside goals, and he always scores offside goals, but he finally got one. He wasn't offside against Nottingham Forest, and he was robbed. He got 2 against Marseille and got booked, and I think this is the 3rd time he's been booked. Fulham, I know he was offside and he took his shirt off. 2nd time he took his shirt off, but he done it. He was shushing the Liverpool fans like Dyer did to the Arsenal fans. So
yeah,
2 players have been shushing the rivalry fans. But
were you pigeon dancing?
I wasn't pigeon dancing. I was just doing a different dance move. But yeah.
I feel like he's hiding that he was, Dave. I think he doesn't want to admit that he was pigeon dancing, because we were all caught pigeon dancing.
Yeah,
I think every single Spurs fan was caught pigeon dancing. I think KPV was. He just doesn't want to admit that he's caught pigeon dancing. Why.
Yeah, other people call him a pigeon, because Richarlison just loves scoring at Anfield. 2 times for Everton and 1 for Spurs. So he's done it, I think, 2 seasons in a row for Everton. So 1 for Spurs. So Richarlison just loves scoring against Liverpool Anfield. Son has scored every goal against them. This was his 5th goal. Kane has now scored home and away. Different. Son done it last season, Kane this season. So I think that 2 consecutive games for Kane and Son and Kane. But
now that you've mentioned Sonny KPV, do you think we're starting to see Sonny sort of get back to somewhat near his best over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think we are.
And just quickly as well, just quickly to follow up on that. Sorry, I should have said it. Does that sort of maybe alleviate the questions of should he be sold this summer for you?
Nah, I don't think he should be sold. I know people in the chat, every time I come on a different channel, I always see comments saying, sell Son, sell Son. Like, are you mad? No, thank you. I saw in an article saying he wants to join Liverpool, who the team he loves scoring against, and no thanks. Why do you want to join a team that's had a bad season? And yeah, we lost the Champions League final, but no thanks. I don't want him going to Liverpool because Crouch plays for both these clubs. And so, nah, man, don't join Liverpool. You can go Real Madrid or somewhere, but nah, don't be sold.
Don't worry, Liverpool won't be able to afford him, lad.
Nah, they won't. Like, I think that would be his best option, but they're not going to get him since they're losing Bobby Firmino, where Son can play anywhere on the front 3, but he's a winger. But he can play up front, but if Kane gets injured, but nah, Son on the wing. And Richarlison should have started instead of Kulu. Like, I know Kulu looked brilliant when he came on against United. He had a few chances. And
he was poor though, wasn't he?
Yeah, a bit of border yesterday. Richarlison should have started. Like, why Mason not starting him? Like, Ryan Mason has probably made the biggest mistake since the Carling Cup final 2 seasons ago. He didn't start Bale. Like, made a big mistake, Ryan. So make sure you start Richarlison on the weekend. Like, got I believe Villa the weekend, right?
Yeah,
Crystal Palace.
Palace at home. Well, obviously he loves.
Maybe Richarlison put the pigeon up against the Eagles, KPV.
Hope so, because I don't think he scored against them when it was at Everton or Watford. So
no, it was the Hill Messi masterclass last time we came up against.
Hill Messi, the assist to Kane for
and then we loaned him out after it.
Yeah, I watched that game. So Palace at home, like we're at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, man. Son scored the first goal there. Like, so Son, get your boots on, mate. Get ready for Saturday.
Actually, was that not more of an own goal, though, KPV, to be fair? I think that was more of an own goal, no?
What?
The Son goal against Palace.
What? The one? What?
Yeah, he got lucky, I think. Yeah, that Sonny one, he got a little lucky, I remember. Yeah.
No,
it was like Guehi. Remember, Guehi made a really big mistake. Like Guehi, like basically handed it to him, I think, and then forget what it was. I think it was something like that.
One when I think it was the 3rd of April 2019 we're talking about here, yeah. Now Son got it. I watched the highlights of it, and so it's definitely Son's goal because he just loves scoring against them, and I know Kane does. But so Kane, Son back on the score sheet again, linking up, and so but
let's wait and see, KPV. Let's wait and see.
Yeah,
who's letting the dogs out this weekend?
I thought who's letting the dogs out?
Yeah, sign us off. Who's letting the dogs out?
Oh, who's letting the dogs out? Oh, who's letting the dogs out, man? Tyler. Tyler.
Nice.
Tyler's next. Big responsibility passed on to Tyler, so KPV.
Yeah, but obviously Palace at home, obviously gonna win anyway because I don't want us losing 6 home games because I don't think that's happened before, but not happening again, man. 6 home games not losing, but nah, we're winning Saturday and then Villa away. I know we won there last year when Ronaldo scored a hat-trick and Kula got one, but Villa away, obviously good record there. So this Palace game is gonna be great. They're not doing that good so far. I know they just won recently, but like, can say goodbye, Palace. You're not beating us. You got slapped earlier in the season when we won. So good luck, but see you later, boys. We're slapping Palace. And yeah, so yeah, gonna be great at the weekend. Then on to the next and then the remaining games. So yeah.
Nice.
Anyway,
Well,
I'm off because
See you
and
soon, KPV.
yeah, I'm off anyway. So anyway, see you later, people. And as always, leave me out. Tyler, you're up next. You let the dogs out, mate.
Nice.
love it, KPV. Love it,
Good
Love
my
job,
man.
KPV.
KPV,
Oh,
you go off and play some FIFA and we'll speak again soon, brother.
Yeah.
catch you soon, brother.
See you,
Catch
my
you
See you
man.
soon, KPV.
soon.
The legend of KPV doesn't care about own goals, doesn't see them. It
He's
just goes
flexing
to
the
Sunday.
calendar dates on this one, Dave. I mean, the guy was, listing off dates, from, 8 months ago, Dave. I can barely remember what we had for breakfast this morning, let alone,
I know.
the dates. It was impressive.
I know, like I've always said, if we're ever in a quiz, it's to do with Tottenham, get the walk of
If you
Tottenham.
get, what is a phone a friend? You would just call KPV.
KPV on your team.
Yeah. You do KPV for the phone a friend. Absolutely. Any Spurs question.
Him
Paul
and Sim
Van
together on your team, you're going to win all day long.
Oh, he's the dream team.
Paul Van Ben says, come on, you Spurs, rain or shine. Big yourself up, my man. Yeah, look, I think everyone's, always come on, you Spurs. Sometimes it's just harder than others, aren't they, my man, Just harder than others. But Paul, good to see you, and good to see you still behind the club, my man, because look, I know there's many who have just they just can't do it any longer between now and the end season. It's actually sort of getting to where we were under Nuno. I remember lots of people sort of just walking away from Tottenham under Nuno, and then when Conte came back, everyone sort of was re-spirited and stuff like that. But, look how that ended. But, Paul, big yourself up, my man.
Big up, Paul.
Thank you for the support, brother. Hopefully you're keeping well as well. Where in the UK you're from, Paul? Let me know, my man. Let me know. But look, let's keep this moving. We've got another guest. The next guest, we've got two more guests left. We've got Tyler, and then we've got Michael. So let's get Tyler on. Tyler, you there, buddy? Dig yourself up, my man. How are you keeping?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Holding together, Tyler. Holding together. Feels like, everybody or some people, it's a bit divided, Tyler. Like some people are quite proud of sort of the effort that sort of Spurs made to get back into the game. Some people are just kind of, I'm a bit kind of in the middle where I'm happy to see that Spurs continue to make sort of the effort to get back into it. At the end of the day, it wasn't a Newcastle type situation where it ended up, turning into a 5-0, 6-0. They didn't claw themselves back, but it also is just painful to just continue to find ourselves, in game, especially at least when we're doing the watch along and everything. We're not doing it with, beers in front of us and chips and, like a nice, comfortable sort of, kind of atmosphere. It's not easy. Even this chair is not as comfortable as I'd like it to be when watching us getting smacked that much. So I don't know. Some of us just feel kind of like there are only so many punches you can take, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, it's great and all. We showed some heart, but it's at the end of the season where it really doesn't matter. I mean, top 4 is already over. I mean, maybe we get Europa League, maybe we get Conference League, but I mean, other than me wanting to see youngsters like Brian Hill and Alfie Devine, I could care less.
Where do you want Spurs to finish then, Europe or Tyler? Where do you feel like outside of Europe? Do you want them finish, Conference League? Because for me, 7th is probably the highest I see us finishing, and I'm not sure where I feel in Conference League. Selfishly, I'd love to see us play as much as possible. I feel like also that's a competition where if used the right way, Spurs could actually benefit from it. At the same time, though, it does lead to huge, fixture congestion, and we've seen how Spurs kind of just don't really take advantage of the European sort of competitions like this. So I don't know. Would you rather just finish outside of Europe?
Yeah, well, I mean, first I wanted to continue with how I was saying that they finally want to show some heart in a pretty meaningless match after going down 3-0 in 15 minutes. Like, how can we have that Newcastle disaster and two matches later be in the exact same scenario? It's disgusting. But where was that heart against Milan, Sheffield United, Mura, Vitesse? Like, it's just crazy to me that they want to show some heart in a meaningless match after going down 3-0 in 14 minutes, not even 15, 14 minutes. I just don't understand it.
it goes back to what Conte was saying, right? That these guys don't want to win. They're not winners. They don't want to sacrifice to win. They don't want to do this to win. They don't want to do that to win. And you see it. You think they would have, you're right. You think they would have got the wake up call after Newcastle. After Newcastle, especially for the next 5 games, you don't go behind. You make sure of it. Even if you have to put 11 men behind the ball, you bloody make sure of it. But both games since, we went 2-0 down to Man United, 3-0 down to Liverpool. And it's like, these guys that only have to, after coming out and having to pay a refund there not so long ago, the bare minimum, by the way, because the way tickets are capped at £30 and their travel costs more.
Yeah.
But, you find yourself there again. And it's all well and good saying, yeah, look, they showed heart, this, that, and the other. But, like you were saying, it's just too late. It's way too late. It's like, show it when it actually matters. Show it when we have a chance of doing things. Show that you've got the grit, the determination, and the heart then. Because if you can play like that in the second half at Anfield, there's no reason why our season should have turned out the way it did.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me before the match you would have been down 3-0 in 14 minutes and somehow have played at the end of the match, have deserved to win and outplayed Liverpool, I would have told you you'd belong in an asylum. I can't believe we even did that. I mean, yeah, big up to them showing a little heart, but that's what we have to do. We have to play attacking. We have incredible attackers. We saw vintage Son again last night after going down 3-0. I thought he was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he was really unlucky on the day.
He hit the post twice. He scored a goal line clearance. I thought he was absolutely incredible last night. I was so happy to see Son like that. And I loved him celebrating with Ryan Mason, and he's back to putting it. That was an incredible cross on the set piece.
Yeah, that's his set piece, right, to Richie as
finally
well.
Back
that was a
to
cross
Son,
to Richie.
Yeah,
good
finally
point,
back
actually.
to beautiful Son set piece right there.
That's a good point, Tyler. Just quickly, I mean, Sonny, I by no means ever thought he had a bad game at all, but you actually pointed out he actually had a much better game than maybe what met the eye, because the fact that he did, I think Harry Kane won, I believe, the free kick from the likes of like a James Milner foul. Harry Kane, or then Sonny whips it into Richie. Sonny got so unlucky by not scoring all the times he hit the post. He did, I think, miss one maybe easier chance, but then all the other ones were actually quite impressive with what he was able to do with it. Just got kind of unlucky. And for the most part, I actually thought they had I would say the forward line, except maybe Bar Kulusevski, actually had a pretty good game. Would you say maybe the forward line?
Yeah, I mean, Kane's doing what he's always doing, scored, and he's setting up others. I mean, Kane's always gonna put in the effort, but I mean, it's hard to be shown like you're putting in so much effort when everyone around you is just dead inside, like the Newcastle game or the first 14 minutes of the Liverpool game. You're not. It's not going to show, especially he's a striker, so he's not like playing center back. You're not going to see all the hustle and effort, slide tackles. Like, you're not going to see that out of Kane, but he's always trying. I mean, you can never knock him off that.
Yeah. Look, I get what you're saying, and I agree with it to a certain extent. But there are times where that ball is in the early parts of the games, and I think they have to take a small responsibility as well, because there are times where the ball is going into them and they're not getting a hold of it. Now, like for instance, Sonny against Newcastle, I think it was the second or third goal. He was bowled off the ball, moved aside, they went up and scored. So I do think the forward line do have to take some part of responsibility for it. As much as I blame the back line for the majority of it, there are times where the forwards do need to be doing better on the football as well. Conte alluded to it while he was here as well, that, I think it was actually after the Arsenal game, that second defeat, where he sort of came out and said, there are times where we're getting the ball into the forward areas and that final ball is not there. It's like, and I sort of see that with Tottenham at times as well. We're getting the ball in there, but it seems to just be coming back for the first 14 to 15 minutes. And I do think they have to take a little bit of responsibility as well. I agree with you. However, look, Kane, constantly puts it in. I think Son, although he's been disappointing this season, I can never really accuse him of a lack of effort and stuff like that.
Sometimes defensively.
Yeah.
Sometimes he won't get back, but I mean, he shouldn't have to be playing defense. Like it sucks that how bad our defense and sometimes how bad our midfield plays, that our attackers, like, Kulu's had parts of the season and Richarlison that they've had to do a lot of defensive work, and they've done solid at it too. I mean, Kulu, I think for one of the goals, he like rushed inside and left the wide part open. I know that's hard because Poro's not the best defender out there, but he left Poro alone. And someone we are extremely missing badly right now is Emerson. I mean, as much shit as people have talked on him, and he can't cross a ball, whatever. His defense and guarding the back post is incredible. He really does guard the back post really well. I mean, and it shows when Poro's in there.
I thought he was the problem, though, Tyler. No, I thought many people wanted him gone. No, it's mad. Honestly, right? I actually agree.
Yeah,
I know
it's laughable, really. The flip on Emerson really is laughable because I think at one stage we were hearing, we might as well just be putting Kulusevski at right wing back. We should be throwing wingers out there and everything. It's like I think we've forgotten, the importance of defending at a certain stage. I think we've forgotten that, like coming up against 70 million pound wingers, you are going to need somebody that actually knows a thing or two about how to position themselves in the right areas in order to maybe lessen sort of the damage. Because when you're coming up against these top teams, you're going to be asking these wingbacks, even if they have the protection of an extra center back, they're still going to be asked to do things defensively. And if they are going to get caught sort of making mistakes and basically doing what Pedro Porro has been doing, which is just sort of not really making the right decisions often, we're going to get punished for it because it's the Premier League. It's the highest level in the world. You're going to get absolutely taken advantage of for any tiny little mistakes that you might make. And I think what people didn't understand about Emerson is that he has the foundation of being a very good defender and has very solid fundamentals as a defender. And he has maybe other areas that he needs to work on. But it's almost like sometimes being a really good defender gets you maybe the right foundation, whereas maybe being good going forward and all that stuff can be exposed more. We're seeing it with Trent. We're seeing it with Pedro Porro. People that maybe struggle defensively can get taken advantage of, whereas somebody who struggles defensive or struggles going forward, it's kind of a bit of a different story. It's, it's another thing. So Emerson, if anything, is showing he has a future, I think, as a Premier League fullback, at least.
Just on that quickly, I think at times, like we want to run before we can walk, right? Like with Emerson, good defensively, but people are moaning about him going forward. Now you're bringing Pedro Porro, now they're moaning about him being defensive. And it's like, look, I understand it, right? It's frustrating. Why can't we just sort of buy a complete player, right? But at the end of the day, if our back three was solid, you could have someone like Porro there without really, his defensive frailties being highlighted, right?
Yeah.
You could.
But you look at most fullbacks across the Premier League, they all have weaknesses. Like almost every single one of them. There are very few that you would say are kind of perfect at both. Like even Trent, great example, like has proven he doesn't give a shit about defending like anymore. Like he's had to be protected at all costs, so that he doesn't get exposed week in, week out. You look at other sort of fullbacks across the Premier League, like they have maybe their strengths in certain areas, but they also have their weaknesses in certain areas as well. And I think that's what is the nature of the position, is that you'll have parts of your game that you'll absolutely thrive in, and then there are parts of your game that you'll always kind of maybe need developing on or just aren't really your suit. But Emerson and Porro, in my belief, are young enough that there should be that sort of patience to think that they excel.
Yeah.
I think Porro excels in going forward. He clearly is excellent going forward. He just has a lot to work to do defensively, but he's young enough that you can give him that benefit of the doubt. Emerson is the same thing. He's very good defensively, but has a lot to work to do going forward. But he's young enough, you can give him the benefit of the doubt, I think.
Yeah, and I don't want to attack Porro and put a bunch of the blame on him, but also you're seeing with Romero next to him, and Romero's between Dyer and Porro, who are both positionally poor on defense, and actually defensively they're poor. He's getting found out more, and he's having to lunge in, and he's having to make up for their mistakes, and he's getting a lot of attack from the fans, but just have patience with him. Once we have good defenders in there around him, and even when you have Emerson next to him, he looks a lot better, right?
Yeah.
Like we have do not turn on Romero right now. He is by far our best defender.
It's what I'm saying, Tyler. Like, it absolutely baffles me. People are very quick to bring up the Romero and talk about Romero, but as soon as you mention Dyer, it's sort of no one really wants to sort of talk about, or it's sort of just glossed over. Whereas when it comes to Romero, people want to get really deep into it, pinpoint games, do this, do that. And it's like, okay, but if we actually done that with Eric Dyer, you would find that happens a lot more often with this guy. And it baffles me. I understand that, look, he's making mistakes and he's being questioned and it's sort of coming to the fore. I get it. But like my point is like, you know, like, look, Tyler, you've seen me. I've tried to have these conversations about some of these guys, and people have slated me left, right, and center in the chat. You know, this, that, and the other, telling me I don't know football, this, that, and the other. And now they're all singing off the day of the IrishHotspur hymn sheet right now. But it's kind of like, you know, why can't we start with one problem first instead of making a guy that was brought in here after the problem? That's where I struggle with these sort of conversations.
Yeah, sorry, I was getting a call.
That's Romero. He's ringing you. He's thanking you.
No, but I've been saying for 3 or 4 seasons now that Eric Dyer is a complete and utter moron at center back. I've been calling him Eric Diarrhea. I know you've been for a while now too, Dave. But it's crazy that now only just recently, like pretty much, I think it's like 90% or something, probably the fan base has finally turned on him. But a couple rash challenges and Romero's getting all this shit right now. I mean, it's crazy to me. How can you give Dyer that much time when he's made so many mistakes? The amount of points he's costed us single-handedly is like sickening. But Romero's made a couple rash challenges, and now he's the villain. They got to get rid of him immediately. He's got to go as well as Dyer. It's crazy to me. I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I get it. And look, maybe it comes from a play style where people probably expect more from Romero because of what they've seen from him. Fair enough. I understand that. But then let's phrase the conversation about Romero differently. You know, that's my point. Let's phrase that conversation differently if that's where people are coming from. But let's not start putting him in the same category as Dyer, because then I question, why did you put up with 8-9 years of loser Eric Dyer, but you're not willing to put up with any longer of Romero? And it's kind of like baffles me.
That's a good point.
Completely baffles me. But look, where you at with VAR as well, it's, you know, I want to sort of see where people are at. People know my thoughts in it.
Younger fan as well, Tyler, you and I. What thoughts on VAR? I like VAR when it was first brought in, Tyler. I genuinely supported it. It just feels like it's just like fancy gadgets that they just don't know how to use properly. And so when it's that case, it's like, I don't know, we might as well just get rid of it then.
Yeah, it's just extremely unreliable. It's so many
technology I don't think is wrong. It's just the implementation of it. I don't think the technology is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and you have some refs that will give something a red card and other ones that won't. I mean, I like VAR, but it has to be consistent, and it just hasn't been. I mean, yes, that skip challenge, another game like that. Lucas Moura got sent off for pretty much the same thing Skip did in the Everton match, right? It was a very similar tackle. I believe he nicked the ball first and then studs into the ankle. But I mean, I've never seen a clear red. The studs to the face, extremely high boot, dangerous challenge, and it's not like Skip is like.
Yeah.
He's not like diving down for a header or something. He's pretty much standing up and heads the ball and gets like a cleat to the face. I don't understand how any possible way that wasn't given a red card.
I liked Mason's description. Mason was like, I just would like to know. He said, when somebody's boot is hitting someone's face 5 feet above the air and it causes a gash in their head and it causes bleeding, usually that checks all the boxes for me for what makes a red card. Yeah. And I was just like, that's a good way to put it.
Jota's foot is higher than his own head, pretty much. I mean, I just can't. I'm so at a loss of words from that. And even the Richarlison getting pulled down in the box, I believe that was a penalty. And you want to know why they didn't give it? Because Richarlison's diving around the whole pitch the entire time, flopping around. The ref had talked to him multiple times about diving around too. That's the reason he's not going to get a call.
That is
It's a
true.
bit like Wilfred Zaha, right? You know, he was diving for years upon years, and it's kind of like now he tends to not get the decisions that he actually probably should get because he has that reputation, especially amongst
Exactly.
referees and officials. So I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely spot on. You know, we've seen it from the guy time and time again. Although it was a stonewall penalty, I mean, like literally, if I grab my missus like that, you know, you think it's love, you know, let alone
Yeah.
doing it in a football match and getting away with it inside your own box. It's absolutely ridiculous. But you know, you're right. It is a consequence of him dropping around the pitch, left, right, and centre. Because look, referees are humans as well, and if they've been conned by guys before, next time they're going to be very, very hesitant to blow that whistle. You're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, and another thing with the refs and VAR, I think maybe they should go more of like a route of getting more international refs in, not English refs that have affiliations with these clubs that have cheered for these clubs that they could be playing or reffing against or for or whatever. I mean, there is clearly bias with some of the refs, and I think the league is telling them certain things as well. There certainly is corruption. I mean, I don't know. Just some of these calls don't make any sense.
That's what I'm saying. Look, the year Liverpool, I think, was it the year Liverpool won the league or the season before that when they ran Man City close? VAR decisions left, right, and centre. I remember one weekend there was a handball leading up to a goal for Liverpool. It was given. For us, the same thing happened in the game that weekend, not given. And I look at a lot of the calls that Liverpool were given over the course of that season, and other teams weren't getting them calls. And like, you know, the reason why I say first of all, let's pretend corruption in football does not happen. Look at the World Cup. Look what happened to Juventus for match fixing way before their latest scandal. You know, let's not pretend corruption in football does not happen. It does happen. My opinion is they know Man City are so powerful. Yeah. If VAR or referees didn't give some teams decisions to keep them in a title race, Man City would walk this league every single season. It would be a bit like what PSG do in French league. And many pundits, many people have come out and said they don't want the Premier League to be like that. It's not the brand they advertise. They advertise a really competitive league. It's known as a really competitive league. So for me, I mean, I do believe, and people can say I'm wrong, but, you know, people said it about Sir Alex Ferguson at the time. Man United used to get decisions because of who they were, because they were a bigger team. Referees were more afraid to not give calls in them games and stuff like that. And I feel it's the same with VAR, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we haven't gotten questionable calls our way too. Of course, we've gotten calls against certain teams that have been questionable. I'm not blaming the refs at all for our bottling and our disgraceful performances and the players just not giving a shit and them giving up on the managers. I'm not blaming any of that on the refs and losing games like that. But I think there certainly is a little bit of corruption here and there, and I don't know. So I think something does have to change, whether it's getting rid of VAR or changing something up.
For me, Tyler, right? I'll tell you what my biggest problem is with VAR, right? Is we were told it was going to stop the wrong decisions, right? Yeah. But you're seeing more controversy about decisions now than what we've ever seen before, in my opinion. And you look at it now. Yeah. Talk after the weekend, majority of it, it's not about tactics. It's not about how teams play, this, that, and the other. It's all about officials, VAR, the use of it, this, that, and the other. You know, even referees are getting their own spot on Sky Sports now, which never happened before, you know, to talk about decisions that were made at the weekend. And it's just absolutely load of bollocks. If this was 100% and was brought in to eliminate errors, then why do we find ourselves talking about more errors than we ever have done before? Why are referees in the spotlight more than what they ever were before? Because it's not working. Yeah. So get rid of it. It's killing the game. It's killing celebrations left, right, and center. It's taking some emotion out of the game, some passion out of the game, and I do not like it. You know, we're told, you know, it's to eliminate human error, but it's still humans that are making the rules that determine how VAR is used. It's still humans using their interpretation of the rules to come to decisions on VAR. So for me, I feel like I was lied to about the whole situation, and that's why I don't want it.
Yeah.
Can't be any more clear than that. So, but look, Tyler, any other talking points you'd like to discuss before we let you go, my man? Really good call today, by the way.
Yeah, we'll go back to I never answered about what place I'd like us to finish in.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to watch obviously Tottenham as much as I can, even though they disappoint us constantly and whatever. But I obviously would love to see us in some sort of Europe, even if that's Conference League, because I want. But I don't want to see Conference League with all the shit first team players and a couple youngsters into the 11, where
I
the
don't even want to
youngsters
see Harry Kane board the plane, to be honest, unless he
the
just
young
wants to be on the plane.
the youngsters, whenever they get in, like a Brian Hill or something, usually outplays the Matt Dohertys that were on the pitch or the Sessegnons. But the reason we lose those games is because of those terrible first team players that are on the pitch. It's not the youngsters' fault.
Yeah.
They're giving it their all. They're trying their best to prove themselves, while the other players are in the first team or in the first in the match day squads. They're not trying to prove themselves because they've already gotten their spots. They're never being wow, I can't think of the word. Like, the youngsters are never getting a chance over them ever. These guys have their spots already sold in. It's whether it's whatever, I don't know. I can't even speak.
No,
Sorry.
I agree with you. I think what you're saying is
Yeah.
like we can't really put any youngsters out there and see how they do in a Tottenham environment, right?
Yes.
Or how they play for Tottenham, because their pathway is clogged up by guys who, when they've had their shot in the first team, they haven't taken it, and when they've played in these cup games, they haven't taken it. But we keep persisting with them because we're trying to either play them into form so that they can provide backup to the guys in the first team, or we're looking to try and coop some resale value so that we can put them in the shop window. But all it's doing is it's to the detriment of the club, right? We've got to get out of this mindset that we need Kane and Son every single game, regardless of the opponent. And I get why people are in that, because we know what's going to happen. But there comes a point where the club needs to say, okay, because I remember I grew up in an era. I was only speaking to Harry Redknapp about the other day about Shamrock Rovers in Tala, and he was listing off some of the youngsters that he gave games to that day. Harry Kane scored his first ever goal from Tottenham in that game that day. And it's kind of like, there was a time when I supported Spurs where I went into these games and I knew what I was going to see. I was going to see a mix of youngsters and a mix of guys who were on the periphery of the first team or coming back from injury. But every single one of them put it in. They wanted to be out there. And why? Because there was no European football at this club for years, so they weren't spoiled, so they didn't dictate what European competition they wanted to play in and what one they didn't. Now, because we've been so used to Champions League football, you've got players going Europa League throwing a nose at it, Europa Conference League throwing a nose up at it. Well, I remember there was a time when Tottenham got into a Europa League. It was called the UEFA Cup at the time, and everyone took it seriously because it was European football. Now players turn their nose up at European football if it's not Champions League football, and that's why we see a lot of shit we do out there.
Yeah, but it's not even looking like we'll get Conference League at this point, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, they did look. If we play more attacking, you never know. But the defense is going to keep leaking goals. We're going to have to score 3 or 4 goals a game to win. So I don't know. As of right now, it's looking like we'll get 8th, to be honest. But I do hope we do get Europe. I do.
No, it's nice. It's refreshing to hear that, because I think a lot of people are sort of the opinion, and I also understand this, by the way, because there is benefits to it, where they just want the manager sort of to have one whole week to work with these guys on the training pitch, so that there's no excuse for them not to understand the tactics going into games on the weekend, etc. But it is nice to hear that other people out there sort of do want European football, no matter the level. But Tyler, great call. You should have came on last week, by the way. You shouldn't have felt sorry for me. This is what I'm here to do. You should have came on and had the conversation with me. But, I also appreciate where you're coming from that on as well, my man. But any last words for Spurs fans before we let you go, brother? Great call today. Enjoy.
Great call, Tyler.
Yeah, sorry to hold Michael. I just want to say one more thing. There are a lot of players available on a free transfer that could really help us. My number one target, I don't know why. I haven't heard anything about it. There's been no rumors. I haven't heard him about many clubs he's rumored with. But I thought we should buy him in January. Evan Ndicka. I've been saying it for a while now. We need to bring him in on a free transfer. It's obvious. It's perfect. We don't have to spend too much. Yeah, he's going to want maybe a little more on the wages, but we're not going to have to spend a ridiculous transfer fee on him. So that's one center back already that we can get in, and then we can buy another 2 or at least one big one, and obviously if Eric Dyer is here next season, I'm gonna lose my shit. I just can't. I don't care if he's on the bench. He cannot be anywhere near the team, and that's my problem with Ryan Mason. I do like Ryan Mason. I hope in the future maybe he can come back and have the main job at Spurs. But until Harry Winks and Eric Dyer retire from football, I want Ryan Mason nowhere near the club because Harry Winks will be the fucking captain, and Eric Dyer will be starting every week alongside him, and we'll be in frickin' the English third division. I cannot until all those guys are retired and out of football. All his mates, I don't think he should be near the first team job.
Fair point. Absolutely love that, Tyler. Look, I think you're absolutely spot on with that because that will happen. By the way, you're not even joking. That is.
I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. Yeah. That's the sick part. This is not a joke.
Tyler, pick yourself up, my man, and look, we'll speak again soon, brother. Great call in today. Some great points.
Good job, Tyler.
Thank you, guys. Man. Have a good one. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Tyler.
One more thing, Dave. I wanted to show you something. Someone made you something, but I had made this in high school. I wanted to show you. It's not as good. It's made out of wood, but let me know if you can see it. I don't know if can you flip the camera in this? I don't think you can. Let me know if you can see.
Whoa, that's gorge.
That's sweet, man.
Not clean.
Not nearly as nice as yours.
Why isn't that up on the wall?
I have it. I'm in a different room. I brought it down just
nice. He's showing it off. Off. Nicely done, Tyler. That's clean, really man. Awesome. That's clean.
Yeah, you mean you will always have one. Jack's jealous.
Who made that for you again? I forgot.
William Kelly.
Big up William Kelly. Absolutely beautiful piece you made for him and his dad. So big up to you, and come on, you Spurs. Thanks for having me, guys. Come on,
you Spurs. Absolutely love that. Tyler, been a pleasure, my man. And we'll speak again soon, buddy. Big yourself up.
Big up, Tyler.
Everybody, show Tyler the love that fucker deserves in the comment. Great call in, by the way. Absolutely really enjoyed them points that he made, especially on Richarlison. I think a very, very fair and good point. And even on Mason at the end. And love the way that he's got that big sort of life-size cockerel as well. That's absolutely quality. But look, let's keep this moving. We've actually got 3 guests left. So we've got Michael, we've got Donovan, and we've got Dermot. And then we will be calling it an evening. So let's get on the next guest. It is the one and only Michael. I had a great chat with this guy last week. Let's get him on for some more therapy. All the way from Poland. Thanks, Michael.
What's up, Mike?
Give me the therapy, guys. I need it. I still need it.
For more. That's what I'm talking about. You give me the therapy. I need it.
Yeah, the other way around this time.
Yeah, we're gonna therapy each other. Go on, boys.
Where do you want to start this, Michael? Where do you want to take it? There's so much to talk about, really.
You guys give me the topic.
Okay, let's start with one of my favorite topics. Eric bloody Dyer. Why this guy not being dropped? What?
Or it's the Romero versus Eric Dyer is the real thing today that people are talking about, Michael. It's kind of like if I were to summarize without maybe, pointing out my bias at all or anything, if I were to summarize both kind of sort of arguments, plenty of people feel like Eric Dyer's mistakes just sort of get glossed over. People don't really like to talk about them actually in depth, probably because he's just been around for so long that people feel like it's not worth talking about. But, it feels like it does get kind of glossed over. But now that Romero, some mistakes are creeping into his game, a lot of people feel like he's not really the same player since the World Cup and everything, that his sort of kind of reputation for people who really like and praise him, he gets kind of away with maybe some bad performances and he gets away with kind of some bad mistakes himself. And so it's just kind of this debate between how do you, criticize Romero without also, while also criticizing Eric Dyer. And it's this sort of like, which one, is worth giving more attention to, right? That's another thing that Dave and I getting into. It's like, you can admit Romero makes mistakes, and it's probably worth saying that Romero is actually not the same player that he once was, at least before, but he is not a guy, at least for us, that falls on sort of the pecking order for players that need to be out the door or anything like that. But some people say you still got to acknowledge mistakes. You still have to acknowledge, you can't just give everybody a free pass. So that's my best way of summarizing it all, the debate that's on hand right now.
Yeah, like I sometimes don't get those defensive debates, right? Because I've seen plenty of people already saying that we should maybe consider selling Romero, or I even seen people that are already fed up with Poro. You know, Kulusevski is getting like a magic phantom of stick, right? Everyone is harping on to the new players when the old guard, or old shit, rather, right? They are getting away with it, right? And the difference is that, at least for me, if you are a new transfer in our club, right, you get a clean paper, you get a blank piece of paper for me, right? And you can fill it with great moments and some bad moments, right? And Romero is slowly doing both, right? Because he actually has a good column and a bad column, yeah. And if it was Eric Dyer, that's how Eric Dyer behaves, right? That's Eric Dyer there. I don't get why we are so quick to criticize the new player. And listen, again, I'm saying this not to keep excusing Romero, right? He is fucking up recently and doing it more and more often, right? And his mistakes have to be pointed out, right? Like he has to learn to control his emotions, to be more patient, to be more aware of his surroundings, etc., right? Same thing with Poro. Poro is plenty of goals that we conceded since he came when he is tucking in too close to Romero and he's leaving a lot of space for the wingers, right? Those are things that can be pointed to those players and fixed, right? You can actually fix Poro's performances. You can tell him, do not tuck in so closely, right? You can tell Romero to not tuck in so closely to Dyer. The issue for me is that neither of them trust Dyer and Davies, and basically the center and the left side of our defense. That's why they are all tucking in so closely, because they want to cover for their mistakes, right? But it leaves space for even more mistakes on the right, right? So for me, before we talk about Romero, again, I'm fine with pointing out his mistakes, right? But before we start talking about getting rid of Romero or whatever, right? Get rid of this bum, get rid of Dyer, find a good replacement in his place, and then see how Romero plays with him, right? Because I think you, David, summarized it the best on one. I don't know if it was while talking with me or somebody else on the last show, but you said it. Central defensive players, center backs, are all about partnerships, right? They have to trust each other. They have to know what the other one will do, right? Because if you cannot defend solo, right? Taking on one-on-ones is a dangerous thing, right? You have to work in, as a pairing or as a trio to stop the attacks, right? And so that's it for me. Romero doesn't trust Dyer and Davies, right? Maybe he trusts Davies, but Davies is on the opposite side of the pitch, right? So he cannot really contribute that way, right? So he has to, cover for himself and for Dyer. I just think also we have to take this season into consideration. They don't give a fuck anymore, and I'm honestly not, I kind of am a bit angry that they don't care, right? But on the other hand, am I really surprised? No, right? So for me, before we start talking about selling Romero to Atletico or selling Poro already, he's been here for 3 months, for fuck's sake. Give the guy a chance, right, to improve and to fit into the system, right? So for me,
I like your point where you say it's the benefit of the doubt, right? Give the players the benefit of the doubt that are new, the Bentancurs, the Poros, the Emersons of the world, the Kulusevskis. They haven't been here long enough to just completely write them off, and they have shown that they are good. Right. They have good spells, and they've had great games to show that there is a player in there. So let's just give them the hope that they can do it again under a different manager. And let's also give them the chance without these other players to bring them down with them. They can also maybe show that they could be even better if they had other good players around them, I think, as well. That's how I just I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, all of them.
The only thing I can give Dyer is that one thing that he's doing well in the defense is, I think if we are really under a lot of pressure, but not in terms of getting pressured on the ball when he is the one playing out, but when we are sitting 10 men behind the ball and in our own box and the opposition is spamming crosses in, I actually think that he's in that sense quite an okay defender in terms of like just heading the ball out, doing the static defending, right? If he is just put there and the only task that he's given is to head the ball out, I think that's the only thing that he does well, right? But that's not good enough for a club of our stature, right? And with Romero, maybe he's not the best aerially. As you pointed out, Jack, it's not only about fullbacks. Every single player has weaknesses, right? There is no perfect players. Well, individuals, right? There are individuals who are perfect, right? But no player is perfect. And Romero maybe is bad in the air. Maybe he's not like the most calm, he can do rash decisions, right? But he actually has pace. He tackles well, he slides well, he is strong, he's steady. He actually, when he's on his game, when he cares, he's really good, right? Whereas with Dyer, I've seen him bend for pace many times. I never see him putting in tackles. He is afraid to take a shot to the body, right? He's always doing like this weird, side thing, always trying to dodge the ball pretty much instead of putting his body on the line, right? You are a defender. I'm sorry, mate. It will hurt for a bit, right? But you have to take the ball to the chest or to the face even sometimes, right? If you are a defender. So for me, it's clear, right? I want to criticize Romero for the Liverpool game. I think he shot himself on 2 separate occasions when we conceded the goal, right? But I want to see Dyer out first. Him being replaced with a competent defender. Again, I'm not talking about top class, world class. I'm not talking about bringing Guardiola and De Ligt. Not. I just want competency near Romero and to see how he behaves then. If he keeps making stupid mistakes when he has actually a competent defender around him, then he deserves a lot of criticism, right? But until that happens,
it's just quickly though. This might sound super petty, but just for the sake of argument, Romero gives away a penalty, but he actually makes up for it because the goal that Sonny scores with that ball in behind is not possible if it wasn't for Romero's vision. I mean, Sonny makes a spectacular run, but let's be honest, like that's near a world-class pass practically from Romero, the way he sees that. He actually steps out of the defense, is like nearly in midfield and clips it over the top, over Van Dijk's head, Konate's head, and everybody. And that basically made up for it. It might be petty to say, but I think it made up for the penalty because it basically was damn near a perfect pass that led to a goal. Also, and if Sonny had missed that, I would have been losing my mind had he missed that. So I think that's how you look at it too. You make up for it. Whereas Dyer had the chance to make up for, I think it was the Bournemouth game, right? After he made terrible, terrible decisions in the Bournemouth game that led to the goals conceded, he had the chance to make up for it in some way and missed the header, to
point blank header. It's not even like missing the header when you are 8 meters from the goal and there is a wall of bodies in front of you, right? Both occasions, Bournemouth and United, he had clear, nobody was in front of him other than the keeper who was out of position. Like, come on, man. Just hit the fucking ball into the net. That's not that hard, right? I swear to God, if I practiced a bit with my jumping, I could probably score that, right? Every single one of us could probably score that, right? If we practiced a bit. And
I just wanted to say one thing quickly on your point there, Michael, about, would Romero be better with a competent guy beside him? I'll just take people back to last season when Dyer was actually somewhat competent. He wasn't as competent as most people make him out to be, but he was somewhat competent. Look how bloody good Romero was last season. And it's sort of like you got a guy beside him who can bloody defend. You're going to see a really good defender. Yeah, he's got some weaknesses like in the air, but, he's proactive. He makes up for it by being aggressive, this, that, and the other. And, just back to Jack's point, if you make a mistake, fair enough. Now, it's what you do after that mistake, right? Look, mistakes, no one likes happening, but how do you react to that mistake? Romero got better, he improved, and he went on to try and make up for it by putting Son through. I never see Dyer do that. Never. I see Dyer get worse. I see him crumble. He gets worse.
No, he gets worse.
And even that penalty Romero gave away, no one's questioned. Why has Romero had to come across? Romero's a right-sided centre-back, not in the middle. Well, the reason why is because Eric Dyer was caught in midfield. And a couple of times before that, he was caught out of position. So you could see it coming. And it makes Romero look bad. And this is my point. It's sort of like, not only does it make Romero, it looks the whole back line look bad because everyone's disjointed, because everyone's pulled out of position to cover for the next guy, It's just a calamity. But to your point, Michael, you will see a much better Romero with a guy beside him because even last season with Dyer and Davies somewhat performing, even though I never was sold by it, he was so much better.
Yeah, like I seriously want Dyer out of this team, boys, and it's I maybe that's naive thinking from me, right? But I seriously think every single player in that team will benefit if we fix the fucking defense, right? Because if you look, we've talked about. I feel like I'm repeating myself again, right? But look at the aggressive wingbacks, right? Like Porro will be amazing if he has proper cover, right, on his right side. His cover is Romero, right? But Romero cannot cover properly for him because he has to cover for Eric Dyer, right? Same thing with same thing with Perisic on the left, right? Listen, I think, as we've talked plenty of times, right? Davies is the least shit out of the shit bunch, right? Yeah. I actually think he and Langley have been like quite competent even this season, right? Even like most of the mistakes from the defense were either from Dyer or Lloris, right? Like the critical, mistakes leading straight to goals, right? Them playing out of defense like bums, right? Those long missed passes, throwing the ball into the stands, right? All of those mistakes mainly come from those two guys, right? I actually saw Romero, as Jack pointed out, like perfect ball for Sonny, right? And it wasn't the only ball that he did during the Liverpool game. And I've seen Eric Dyer pass it to Alisson. Like come on, mate. Like, I miss Toby, by the way, with his brilliant balls.
Yeah, that's
right?
a good point. That Romero pass makes you miss Toby. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was Toby-esque pass, right? The pass by Romero was Toby. Yeah, pinpoint 50 yards to the feet, right? Yeah. But that's talent. That's not only skill that you can work on. That's talent, right? Which Eric Dyer doesn't have, right? But again, I think if we fix the defense, right, we bring in a competent center back, which allows the left side and the right side of the three to actually focus on their jobs instead of covering for the guy in the middle, right?
So what's possible then this summer, Michael? Like, what do you like? I know you like to think both grandiosely, but also realistically at the same time. I said to Philip, like, it's a big surgery. Like, it's probably at least 2 to 3 center backs you need to bring in. It's probably 3 you need to get rid of. That's still not getting rid of like all of them. You still would keep, a Sanchez, a Dyer. I mean, like, there's a huge list that you get rid of, and it's hard to know. Like, can you realistically in one summer bring in 3 center backs, get rid of 3 center backs, and get rid of a goalkeeper and get rid of a goal and bring in a goalkeeper? Like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I mean, listen, it all depends on whether
for just one area of the squad.
I think it all depends on whether our club wants to spend the money or not, right? Because like, listen, everything is possible if you spend enough money, right? Chelsea is the obvious answer, or even Nottingham Forest, right? Who revamped the whole squad. They brought in 22 players in summer and 7 in the winter. They are going to go down, by the way, so fuck them for that, right? But my point is that for me and for the quality of the players that we need to bring, so that involves spending more money than Nottingham Forest, right? Nottingham Forest brought in 22 players, but like half of them were like 5 million or 1 million and 3 million players, right? So we let's be honest, we won't be satisfied with those transfers as a fan base, even, right? Even though one of those 5 million players might turn out to be Kim Min-jae or someone, but it's a risk I don't think we can take, right? So for me, it's not really possible to ship out 3 center backs and bring in 3. That's a bit too much for me, but I think 2 and 2 is doable. And for me, Dyer and Sanchez should be sold. Like, listen, Dyer doesn't fill the homegrown quota in. Is it in European Cups or Premier League? One of them he doesn't fit the homegrown quota.
Even though it's
exactly right.
It's for England, but anyway.
Yeah, so like he doesn't fit the homegrown quota. You don't have to have like, you know, issues with selling him, right? Just sell the guy, right? And Sanchez, his career here is done, right? Like, come on, just find yourself another club and try to revamp your career there, right? So those are the two names that I would ship out most likely, and I would bring in a center back and a left-sided center back, right? In that case, assuming we don't buy Langley, right? Which I'm kind of torn. Like with Langley, I don't think he's been bad. And listen, I understand that we won't bring like 2 world-class center backs. So if you gave me an option of bringing in 1 center back or 1 center back and Langley, I would take buying Langley, right? Just maybe as a stopgap for a
I
season
don't
or
think
2,
Langley is as
right?
bad as everyone makes him out to be. I think it's another Romero situation where it's like,
Yeah,
yes, the guy's made mistakes, but you know, look at some of the assists he's got from the balls over the top, free, you know, clip them in, crossing balls. You know, he's a good bloody player. He can defend as well. You know, again, it's another
He
one.
can defend better
I
than the other guy.
understand it, but like, you know, to say he's not better and improvement on a Dyer and people like that, it's crazy.
He's proved a point. That's all I can say about Longley. Whether you want him for next season or not, he's still proved a point. He's proven that he's stepped in with no confidence whatsoever, coming off of a Barcelona stint where basically everybody didn't want him anymore, and basically was coming in to sort of repair his own sort of form and repair his own confidence to see if he could break into the team. He broke in quite easily, has basically shown that for the most part, he is the second or third most competent defender that we have to choose from. And he's only just arrived from what is a very sort of rocky season. I feel like Longley has only damn well proven the point that when he stepped in, the fact that he's this convincingly better than some of the other defenders just shows why on earth have these other guys stayed as long as they have if he's able to step in ahead of them the way he has.
Yeah, so
that's all it is. He's just proven a point. I think Longley. He's just, you know, proven the point or solidified it.
Yeah, for me, like to kind of answer your question, Jack, because you said about like maybe
is it possible
about some names also, right? Again, what I want is not like, listen, it would be nice if we brought in Bastoni or, you know, or Guardia or whatever, right? But I'm not expecting that, right? I understand what stage of club we are, what money we can spend, etc., right? But what I want is competency. I don't really mind if the player is not like of the world-class status, right? It's just about fitting the system, you know, and being a good player, right? Because I think you can build a great team on good players. If the tactics are right, if the mentality is right, if the approach is right, if the coaching is right, you can build a great team with good players, right? So like for me, there is plenty of like left-sided center backs I would really welcome in, right? I really like the look of Goncalo Inacio from Sporting. He's the left-sided center back of theirs, right? I think Pau Torres, he's a bit of an expensive transfer, but he's running down his contract at Villarreal. So I'm not sure if he's in the last year or last like year and a half, but I don't think. I don't think the transfer would be that big, right? There is, I really like the look of Josip Sutalo. I don't know if you guys see the guy. He's the defender from Dynamo Zagreb.
Croatian guy.
Croatian. Yeah, he's a younger guy, right? But he can be a bit of like a gamble, because I understand we will have to probably take gambles, right? If we assume that we don't bring Bastoni, right, then we have to like go down a bit, right? And so there you come either to a range of like players 28 plus, you know, older center backs, you know, that, or you try to bring in a young center back like Kim In-jae, like, you know, those type of guys, and try to bank on them. And then if they work out, you have like your defense sorted for many years, right? And what other center backs I really like? I think it's Edmund Tapsoba. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, he's been recommended. Yeah, he's been recommended
defender
to replace Dyer. Basically, he's supposed to be kind of the one to replace Dyer.
Kamada is not Kamada. Endika from Frankfurt, a free transfer, right? Those are the names we should, I think, be looking at, right? Not world class, right? Of course, there has been a report linking us to Laporte, right? If you gave me an option to sign Laporte, of course I will take it, right? If our clubs wants to do this, fuck yeah, bring me Laporte, right? but that probably won't happen. That's why I think we need to go down a level, right? And
I said this last summer, and I hope we maybe realize it might have to be the case this summer too.
Yeah. On top of that like topic, right? I think even in other positions where we clearly need, transfers, right? Goalkeeper, attacking mid, backup striker, because assuming we won't sign Danjuma and Lucas is leaving, right? So that leaves us with 4 forwards, right? So we need to sign another forward probably. Markus Thuram from Mönchengladbach, he's on a free this summer, right? I really like the Goncalves guy from Sporting also, right? Madison, 45 million. Like, we should be all over this transfer. If you want one big, statement transfer, Madison is the target for me, right? Like Kamada lives on a free from Frankfurt.
Yeah.
The market is so wide open. We can do so many things, so many exciting transfers. It doesn't have to be Mbappe's and and Guardios of this world.
I agree. I think Jerome was bringing that earlier. He doesn't believe Spurs probably need to spend like 200 million more in a summer. It's just been bad recruitment and bad spending. But if we spend it correctly, we can get in some of these guys, and these guys aren't completely all ones that you have to break the bank for, I think, either.
Tottenham, like Michael mentioned 2 things there. One about like Laporte taking him off City. Spurs have done that in the past. William Gallas, played for the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal. Spurs brought him in. He brought some composure to the back line and stuff like that. But also he mentioned Dynamo Zagreb, Tottenham. Look where Tottenham got Luka Modric for. We also had Chorluki in there as well and stuff like that. And it's like, we've done well with these clubs before. Like that time we got slapped by Zagreb. Why weren't we in there for Orsic? Why weren't we in there for their goalkeeper? Why weren't we in there for Gvardiol as well?
Gvardiol was part of that team that won against us in the Europa League, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like another example, there is this guy called Hanchko, I think. Wait, let me check. How do you probably say his name? David Hanchko from Feyenoord, right? He's the center back. Feyenoord are amazing this season. Like, Arne Slot has him like pinpoint in that defense, right? And he's a young, 25 years old. He's a Slovakian defender, right? Really talented guy. I think we should be all over the guy, right? If we really don't want to do that whole buy old for now players, we want to bring in young players who will develop, and we will have them for a couple of years. This is the guy for you, right? If our club really needs that, to stick with that policy of buying players, right?
But we also believe that almost anything is an improvement, and if anything is an improvement, then we can see pretty much any sort of sensible, competent defender comes in, you see a much better Spurs. And I think that's where it's also maybe been missed, is that I think people think that with Eric Dyer, like you said, we have to replace Eric Dyer with Bastoni in order for, things to be better. No, you think you kind of just need to replace Eric Dyer with maybe a slightly better Longley, and then you'll find yourselves with an already way better team. And I think it's really that simple. That's how bad it's gotten, that almost anybody that has any sense about them could step in and make this team look like a much, much better team. And that's how poor
I would take Lewis Dunk in a heartbeat. For Dyer.
At this stage, with how poor Dyer's form is, I don't know if he gets into any team in the Premier League. I really don't think he gets.
Ben Mee from Brentford.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who else.
I don't think he gets into any. I really don't think he gets into any team in the Premier League at this stage. I don't think he gets.
Sorry again, David.
Bednarek from Southampton. I'd take him.
No. Trust me, you don't want Bednarek.
I would. Trust me,
I can vouch for Bednarek. No, trust me, you don't want Bednarek. If you want another Dyer, that's the guy for you. Trust me.
Well, we do have 2 more guests to get to, Michael. So maybe my just last sort of quick question, then we'll let you go, my man. Where do you stand just quickly on sort of the Liverpool game with VAR? VAR, do you want to just see it go? Like, what do you make of it? Does it need to... The way I put it, Michael, is I don't think the technology by any means is wrong. In fact, I think the technology is actually great. It can probably be used correctly, but that's the issue. It's just not being used correctly. And so that means it probably needs to go. If they don't know how to use it, then what's the point of having it?
Yeah. So, like, first of all, I need to kind of vent this little bitch Klopp. He can piss off, right? I've told you guys already. His surname in Polish means toilet, and that's fitting with the amount of shit that's coming out of this guy's mouth, right? I absolutely hate this guy. Every single time we play them, he knows he is lucky. He knows he is lucky.
Yeah.
That's why he's shit talking.
Yeah, he's
so
been
much,
lucky
right?
the last 3 times. That's true.
I hope he seriously ripped his hamstring when he was squaring up to the ref. I seriously hope that this happened, right?
Seriously, no, he's a wind up. He is a fucking wind up. I don't blame you, dude.
I absolutely love him. Like, just get him out of my face. Okay, that's it, right? With Klopp, I promise. If I get into it, I will start swearing a lot, right? So
We'll save it for Friday.
let's stick to VAR, right? I think VAR in general is a good thing, right? As you said, Jack, the technology itself, for me, is an amazing improvement, right? The issue is with how it's used, and some of the rules are fucking stupid for me. Like, apparently the rule is, so like the general rule is that VAR steps in when there is a clear and obvious error, right? So, but the issue is that apparently the clear and obvious error is when the ref gives a red and they can change it to a yellow because he made a clear and obvious error because the foul wasn't like good enough, right? But apparently if he shows yellow, they cannot, upgrade it to a red in a VAR because he didn't make a clear and obvious error because he given a penalty for a foul, right? That's stupid for me. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
The VAR should be there to correct the decisions of the referee, right? And like, I think if the rules were logical and also streamlined, easy to understand for the viewers too, right? If the rules were easy to understand for the viewers, when VAR steps in when it doesn't, right? Because we fucking don't know when VAR is, being used or not, right?
That's a good point, actually.
If we were clearly told, listen, those are the situations where VAR can, interfere, and those are the situations where it can't, right? Then I think the reception of VAR would be much, much different, right? Also, like with the Jota situation, right? I don't understand how this wasn't a red.
I like Mason's explanation if you heard it.
Yeah. I legit think Paul Tierney was scared to red card a Liverpool player on Anfield. That's it, and it's not
that's a good point.
as the previous caller, Tyler, right? Tyler.
Tyler,
yeah, Tyler. As Tyler have said, right? It's not like we don't get decisions towards us, right? Brighton were absolutely robbed when we played them, right? They were absolutely robbed.
Yeah.
If you don't count the 2 handballs, right, leading to the goal, at least Højbjerg's challenge should have been a penalty, right? And they should have drawn that game, at least, right? So it's not like we don't get those decisions. I just want justice, like in general, right? There are all the teams that get robbed, right, by VAR. Every single team this season probably has been robbed by VAR. So for me, it's stupid that referees have like biases towards center teams, or they are scared to make a decision, or like the most stupid argument for me is when they say, oh, listen, he didn't give the red card for skip challenge, that's why he didn't give red card for Jota. No, mate, you fucked up once, admit the mistake and make a proper decision next time. It's so stupid. It's like, so what if, I don't know, so like to give you a stupid example, right? Do you remember the Pickford foul on Van Dijk, right?
Yes.
So Pickford wasn't red carded for that foul, right? Even though he fucking make the guy not play football for 8 months or something, right? So if then Robertson went out and broke Cornel Cody's leg or some Everton player's leg, was the referee supposed to not give the red card for that?
Yeah,
Like,
2 wrongs don't make a right. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
It's such a stupid logic, right? You fucked up once with the skip challenge. Probably if it was closely looked at, it probably could have been like a red, right? I know Skip got the ball first, but going stats into
it's over
the foot, it's over the ankle. Probably should have been a red, right? But okay, you fucked up with that decision. Make a proper decision next time, right? Skip got fucking kicked in the face. Guys, I practiced karate for like half a semester on my mandatory PE classes on university, right? The kicks I did on those karate lessons were lower than what Jota did.
It's like 5 feet in the air. It was like 5 feet in the air.
I swear. Like, he kicked him in the head. That's not a joke. It's not like he scraped his head, right? It's not like, it was a mistake. He legit kicked the guy in the head. I know he didn't mean to harm him, right? But it's a stupid decision, and you have to punish stupid decisions, right? Like, example like that, right? Do you remember when we played Chelsea, I think, and Sonny got a red card when he got fouled, and
stomach, wasn't it?
He like put the stats on his chest or something, right? And he got red carded for that. Yeah. I don't think Sonny meant to hurt the guy, right? I don't think he meant to kick Rudiger in the chest, but it happened, and it was a dangerous thing, and they red carded him for it, right?
That's a good point.
So that's the level that it should be looked at.
Even also, just quickly, the one that just piss you off further. Remember how Ziyech got away with that one, on us this season? Like, that also just makes it very suspicious to me, because that Ziyech one was also just weird. Like, that was a strange one for somebody to get away with. For me, because that one was also just deliberately violent conduct, deliberately just out of frustration. And then this one's slightly different, where the Jota one's not out of frustration, but it's also just clearly dangerous play, and clearly at the end of the day, something that is going to be seen as maybe dangerous to a player. And Brian Mason even said, Michael, he was like, if it's 5 feet, if the challenge is made on someone's head 5 feet above the ground, and it also as well causes the player to bleed, to be taken off the pitch because he has a gash in his head, that checks all the boxes for what is dangerous play, and dangerous play is a red card. And he was like, it was a good.
What else needs to happen for it to be a red card, right? Is he supposed to injure him for life, like Mason got injured? Yeah, take
his head off.
Like, imagine Mason's career was ended because of a head injury, right? I know I think it was a clash of heads, Peter right? What?
No, it wasn't Peter Cech that done it. No, I can't remember who done right, Mason, but you're right. It was a head injury.
Yeah, it was clash of heads, right? I as far as I remember, like, put yourself in Mason's shoes. He sees his player getting kicked in the face, with stats up into this area. By the way, this area is really soft on your skull, right? Yeah, like this area is really soft. Imagine if he damaged his brain, or damaged his skull or whatever, right? And he didn't get red carded for it. That's an absolute joke. Like, every kick to the head is a straight red for me without a question.
You hit the nail on the head earlier on. They're afraid to give decisions. Look, I listened to a podcast there not so long ago where they interviewed a very famous referee from England, and he spoke about giving cards, being afraid to give cards in certain situations and stuff like that, and it happens. It's traditionally been like that in the English game. Man United for years under Sir Alex Ferguson, because referees didn't want to incur the wrath of them in the press after the game in the dressing room and stuff like that, they bottled decisions. It's been well known. You hit the nail on the head. But Michael, let's answer Donovan Oosterreicher's super chat here, and then we'll let you go and we'll get Dermatron on. Morris, he says Mora needs to go. Why he was allowed back after Everton beats me. I'm so angry at him. Threw away all the hard work, 3 points in a split second. And look, I'll kick this one off. For me, I've said it time and time again. Why do we even bother giving any of these guys any fucking minutes when they're leaving? Earlier on, the guy was getting game time over Gil Messi. Who's going to benefit more from the game time? Gil Messi or Lucas Moura, who's leaving and fucking off back to Brazil in the first place? I mean, it's absolutely madness. But are you surprised you're seeing what you're seeing? He doesn't care. He's out of here in 4 games' time. That's why you've seen him being so lackadaisical there. He should have known how bad that defence is and not to even attempt that back pass. I'll just think about this last night. You had Eric Dyer assisting Mo Salah, and you had Lucas Moura assisting Jota. It's absolutely crazy and it's bloody criminal. I don't understand. He should have been fucked off to the under-21s until the end of the season and send him on his merry way. He's not a Tottenham legend. He turned up for a brief period under Conte and the game again at Ajax. And fair enough, he got us to a Champions League final, great and everything else. But for the length of service, I expect a lot more from him. And, you hear this about players. We care, we love Tottenham. But if you love Tottenham, you don't come off the bench and fucking do that. I'm sorry, you don't. You put the ball straight back up the other end of the pitch. It's absolutely madness.
Someone's even said it. I heard someone say too, Michael, that Lucas Moura has cost us 6 points in less than 12 minutes.
Wow.
Yep.
Because of the Everton game and that one.
That's true. Well, yeah, 5 points technically.
Yeah,
right? But yeah,
I want it to be hard.
Still, the point stands, right? The point stands, and I completely back what David said, and I would even go as far to say he shouldn't be shipped off to U21s because he will, poison their minds with the mentality, right? Yeah. Again, you know what the worst part for me is? Listen, without getting into political stuff, because Lucas Moura, all that stuff, let's not get into it, right? But as a person, as a Tottenham player, he has been like a soul of this team, kind of, right? He, we can all banter him for his coach, all that stuff, right? But actually, it's nice to have a player like him, right? He also, as you said, contributed massively to that Champions League run, right? Without him, you wouldn't have a Champions League final on our books, right? But this has been the legacy that he has established, right? And with those 2 games, he has absolutely ruined it. Because what he will be remembered for is the red card against Everton after being on the pitch for 6 minutes or something, right? And passing the ball to Jota to lose us the game at Anfield, right? We would have been the first team to claw back a 3-goal deficit at Liverpool at Anfield in Premier League's history.
And that would have changed our curse there.
There have been two teams that scored 4 goals on Anfield. Chelsea in 08-09 and United in 04 or 05. Something like, or maybe it was City. I don't remember.
Arsenal wasn't there a 4-4 at Anfield involving Arsenal? I remember Arshavin, didn't he not get a hat trick there one time? Yeah,
but I think the stat was that they clawed 4 goals back, right? So it was. I don't remember the exact stat, but I remember hearing about 2 matches, only 2 matches in Premier League's history that maybe a team has won by scoring 4 goals on Anfield or something like that. Listen, doesn't matter, right? Let's go back to Lucas, right? This guy has ruined his legacy with those 2 games. I don't care, right? I will remember the guy for those 2 matches, not for Amsterdam, right? Not only for Amsterdam. I would love to remember him only for Amsterdam. Right now, if you mention Lucas's name, what pops into my mind is that red card, that pass to Jota, and Amsterdam.
That's what it is. It will take a long time for you to forget those mistakes. It will take a long time. I think it would take well over 6 months, maybe even a few seasons.
Absolutely.
Because these are kind of let's be honest, just huge games. That Everton game, if we had picked up 3 points in that would have been huge. It was like when in the grand scheme of things, that 3 points helps us out tremendously right now. And then also
puts us in Champions League hunt still.
This one keeps us in the Europa League hunt. This one, these are detrimental. And Eric Dyer has cost us probably well over 30 points, it feels like, at this stage. But, I mean, Lucas Moura, just in the space of what we've said, 12 minutes, it's impressive to cause that much damage in a short space of time. It is impressive to be able to do that. Yeah, and I agree with you, Michael. As much as he's remembered for the Champions League stuff and people are saying, oh, he should be more remembered for that, is what people are saying. It's well, recency bias is a thing, and it's there for a reason. It is there for a reason. What have you done for me recently, Lucas Moura? Haven't done a whole lot for me recently, have you? So that's how people will also look at it. What have you done for me yesterday, and you haven't done?
Yeah, I think that is, even if we don't take into consideration that Lucas is leaving, right? The decision to sub Porro off was stupid for me. Porro was one of the best players in the second half for us, right? That's first thing. Second thing, we are not playing midweek games, right? We only have the game next weekend, right? So it's not like you have to rest Porro for 10 minutes to save his legs or whatever, right? The guy can finish off the game. It's almost as if Mason had a feeling that he has to use all the substitutions. I think he got drawn into the atmosphere of us getting back, and I think he just wanted to throw a kitchen sink at it. That's my opinion. That's why he subbed Lucas and Danjuma on. I don't think both of those substitutions needed to be made. I think Danjuma for Perisic was okay if you consider, Perisic age, right? That's okay for me, right? So that's even without context. With context of Lucas Moura leaving, him coming back from a long ass injury, him doing the thing at Everton, young kids being on the bench that can probably come in if you really need to make a substitution, right? It's so. Yeah, again, exactly, Donovan. I'm not proud of ripping into Lucas, but he deserves to be ripped at, right? He deserves to be, looked at for that mistake, right? And honestly, sorry for rambling on. If you want to go into the next,
no, it's what this is about. Work away.
Yeah, Michael. People love to listen to you, my man. Don't worry. People like listening to you. We like
love you too, guys.
What I will say is just quickly, don't blow your load because I want to reach out to you about maybe a podcast on Wednesday. So.
Wait, I'm waiting.
Don't waste all your good material. Don't waste all your good material.
Yeah, but you mentioned the Everton game, right? Where we probably should have gotten 3 points, right? You mentioned the Liverpool game, right? Where Dyer fucked it up, and we probably, if you want to be not so optimistic, we could have gotten a point from the home fixture, right? You mentioned Newcastle game where Dyer did what he did with Lloris, right? Lloris got chest bumped by Wilson. Wilson, lobbed the ball, and Dyer, instead of running to the ball, kicking it out, and then squaring to the ref, squares to the ref on the spot, right? And the decision gets given to Newcastle, and we are 2-0 down, right? United, where Dyer fucked up the header. Bournemouth, where Dyer fucked up the header, right? Aston Villa at home, where we made 2 defensive mistakes, right? City away, where we had a 2-0 goal lead, right? And if you want to be, not so optimistic, maybe we could have drawn that game, right?
West Ham away.
West Ham away, if you look at all those games where we actually played quite well, or even maybe to somewhat of a decent standard, right? I'm not saying about 2-0 at Old Trafford. We got absolutely ripped that game. Both games against Arsenal. Arsenal deserved to win, right? Those type of games that we lost were clearly there because we lost because the team was better, right? But there have been, I kid you not, there have been 8 games this season where we probably, instead of losing or drawing, could have gotten a draw or a win. Imagine if we had 10 points more. Just for the sake of it, right? 10 points more, we would have been on 64 points right now, right? 64 points, which means we would have been level with Newcastle, or 1 point behind Newcastle, ahead of United, right? Just let that sink in.
These
maybe
mistakes,
those things,
when you look at these mistakes and you start adding them up and you look at them as actual points on the table, it gives you a realistic picture.
Yeah.
And even also,
exactly right.
Even also, just to annoy you even further, Michael, we're just looking at, the table of, goals conceded this season.
Oh,
Spurs, when you say, what does 6th worst defense in the league look like on paper? That's what it looks like on paper when you have the 6th worst defense in the league. You're in a relegation scrap when you have the 6th worst defense in the league. That's what it looks like on paper. Sometimes it's hard to, I think, picture that in your head, how bad something like that is. But that's how bad it really looks. And I think this is where Spurs are a confusing one, where it's in certain areas of the pitch, Spurs have brilliant players and have players that can compete with the very, very best. And then certain areas, it's damn near relegation standard, if not lower than that. And it's a hard one to get your head around.
Just to compile to the misery, I think it's over 20 plus times this season we've conceded 2 or more goals as well.
Yeah,
which is not sustainable.
It's 20 or plus now. It's absolutely boys. What I basically the most I wanted to say with that point about us not conceding, those stupid goals, right? Is maybe if those games went our way, maybe Conte would be here, right? Maybe the mood around the club would have been much better. But those things happen. Let's hope that it happened for the good of the club, right? That doesn't change the fact that we conceded 57 fucking goals this Premier League season. 57 goals, and we still have 4 games left to go, or 5, right? we still have five games to go.
That's horrible.
We've equaled our worst defensive away record as well. I think, what was it, 09, we conceded 35 away goals.
Yeah.
We equaled that at the weekend against Liverpool.
And we still have 2 or 3 away games to go, right? So we will beat the record, right? It will be probably one of our worst defensive seasons ever in the Premier League, right? The only reason this club is where it is because of our world-class attack, because of Harry Kane, because of Son. He's contributing because of Kulusevski, even though he's not like he doesn't have the numbers on
Anybody
his
who's
list, he's
chipped
still
in with goals,
contributing.
we see.
Yeah.
Anybody. And it hasn't been the defense, which is also funny because they don't score goals. Those fucking blind defenders. You know, I wish they contributed more goals, but but they don't.
Yeah,
That's another thing.
Coming back to my first point, right? If this defense get fixed, imagine if we had competent defenders and Son and Kulusevski didn't have to drop so deep to defend, right? If Porro and Perisic were given more license to go forward because they were secure at the back, if the midfield didn't have to tuck in so deep to cover for that defense, I kid you not, I think we fix this defense and this team can actually do some nice things, assuming Kane doesn't leave. If Kane leaves, we are fucked. But
maybe Michael will leave it there, and hopefully we pick that up maybe Wednesday if you're available, and we can get a good chat about it. You know, and I'm looking forward to fixing.
I'm waiting.
You're a good guy to talk about fixing stuff.
You also text me.
Fixing stuff with.
You also text me if there's anything specific you want to bring up and, you know, go on to talk about on the podcast. Let us know as well, my man. All right, we'll get it planned.
Give me the topics, boys. We will have plenty to talk about.
Grand job. Okay. I'll give you a text in the morning, Michael, and we'll get it sorted. We'll get it time. Big up, my man.
See you soon, Mike.
Pleasure speaking with you, boys. As always,
pleasure, my man. Pleasure. Do you know what? These calls from Michael lately, they've been very, very good, very, very therapeutic. I had a good long chat with him last week, another one today. And, you know, he's spot on with a lot of what he says. I think he was especially right when he said that referees are afraid to give the big calls at big away games, big away grounds against big teams and stuff like that. I think he's absolutely spot on. But Jacko, we keep it moving, get on to the last guest of the evening.
Bring on a closer here, Dave. Let's bring on an experienced closer.
It's the one and only Dermotron.
He wanted to close as well. Dermotron.
Wanted to close.
Yeah, I wanted to close. Yep. How can you follow Michael? It's impossible to follow that man. You might as well just close with him and just have me on for the after party.
It was a good one. It was a good call in from Michael. Donovan, I wish you the best of luck on your chiropractor visit, my friend. Hopefully they get all the right snaps, all the right cracks. They bend you all the right ways, and, you know, maybe you end up with a new back.
For someone who suffers,
I just get the missus to walk across my back. That sorts it out.
Exactly. Get Dave or myself, you know, to fly on over, and we'll happily sort you out. We'll just walk on all over you.
How much do you charge for doing that, by the way? Because I could do with it with my back.
Yeah, Donovan, give us a quote. Give us a quote, my man.
I don't think you want me on your back, Dermo. I'll end up crushing you and putting you 6 feet under, my man.
Oh, well.
But look, Dermo, where do you want to take this? What do you want to talk about?
Look. Let's put Sunday into perspective. 20 minutes, an absolute pecking shambles. The rest of the match, we outplayed Liverpool. We were better than Liverpool, and I think we were hungrier. But does it have
not too little, too late, though, lad?
Yeah, it was. Do we have to? Does we have to go 3-0 down for get any reaction out of them players? And it was the same with Newcastle, the same with Man United, the same with Liverpool. It seems like the players have checked out. Seems they're on their holidays already.
Why do you think you keep conceding so early, Domo? You alluded to yourself. Like, you know, we keep conceding. And it hasn't just happened there. It's happened against Leeds. It's happened against Bournemouth. It's happened against other teams where we find ourselves in a deficit before we've even sort of got going. Even happened, we went 1-0 down earlier on. Or was it 2-0 down against Newcastle earlier in the season, like Michael was talking about? Like, why does this keep happening? Because, like I said earlier on with Philip, many people put it down to Conte and the 2 kilometers that he gets players to run before games. He's gone, and it's happening worse now than what it ever did before. What is the problem? Why are we starting so fucking slow?
I think the players are not switched on at the start. They're still their heads are still in the dressing room. Their heads are still on the bus. They're not switched on. And I think it takes us going behind you thinking, oh, hell, we need to do something here. It was under Conte, I think, even under Jose, we sort of had it all right. But since Jose left and since Conte's left, it's been a case of the players seem to have relaxed. There isn't the intensity there. There isn't the person on the touchline. You know, if you make a mistake, he's going to bury you in the dressing room, either at halftime or full time. And with Ryan Mason, it seems like he's one of the mates there. He seems he's one. He's like the bit of the furniture. It's grand. If we make a mistake, he won't have a go with us. He'll pick us for the next game. That's the problem. And we're not switched on at the start, which is teams know that, and teams know where to get at us. Down the left is our weakest at the moment. Liverpool exploited that to the hilt on Sunday.
Very early.
Very early. I mean, I had the game on and listening to you guys and Shawnee doing the watch along, and I could see from you, Dave, it was, within about a couple of minutes you were losing your head, thinking down the left side. And it's ridiculous. And players like that should be switched on from minute one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dermot. For me, look, we can sit here and bemoan about the quality, but the quality isn't why they're going down so early. You're right. It's because they are more relaxed now than they ever were before. I have a feeling Conte got them to run 2 kilometers just to wake some of them fucking up, realize, there's a game. That's probably why. It's like, now that you're complaining about running, you're awake, grand. We actually have a game now, 5 minutes, get out there. I think you're absolutely spot on, because since Conte's gone, it's been happening more and more and more regularly and more concerning, to the point where we're actually out of games before we've even sort of got going, before we even sort of got into their half. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think it is because they're more relaxed now. There's no one there giving them a bollocking. There's no one there grilling them. There's no one there, it's sort of all just, that's why Mason was drafted in, a friendly atmosphere, keep it nice, fluffy, friendly, everything else. Let's shower each other after games and let's feed each other. Let's do Lady on the Tramp and, grab one half of the spaghetti each and eat in the middle. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. I think you're spot on. It is down to them being relaxed now. And
it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that under Jose, Dave. It wasn't like that under Conte. It wasn't even like that under Poch, though it was a bit friendly. But Poch he didn't want Dyer in the team because he knew how bad Dyer was. Yeah. So what is it with Jose, Nuno, Mason and Conte? They will keep picking him.
They have no option, Dermo. Who do you want them to pick? Sanchez? Dyer's better than Sanchez, right? I'll put that out there. Dyer's better than Sanchez, but that's not praise of Dyer. That's not like who you like, bigging up Dyer. He's better than Sanchez. But the thing is, you can't play Sanchez because every time Sanchez plays, the reality is he's even more costly. I think he's more costly, but he is. Then you look at Tanganga. Again, he's another one. He hasn't took any opportunities that was given to him. He's given an opportunity in the cup game. You're saying, okay, kid, go out and make his name for yourself. Good performance. You'll be in the team next week because you don't have much to compete with. And he starts grabbing people and throwing them around like he's in fucking WrestleMania. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, I understand why they're picking Dyer. But like I've said before, they're only picking Dyer because they haven't spent money in that position. It's not like Dyer's got in there through good performances. It's not like he's got in there and earned it. He's got in there by default because we sold Jan Vertonghen, never replaced him. We sold Toby Alderweireld and brought in fucking Joe Rodin. You know what I mean? It's like we've never spent money to displace Dyer, and that's why he's in the team. And I don't blame a manager. If I'm a manager, I'm sorry, and I slate the guy, but I'm picking him over Sanchez because Sanchez is 10 times worse.
But the point I was trying to make is, they've picked Dyer. Surely any one of them should have realised, hang on, we need better here. We need absolutely better defenders here. And that brings me on to my second point, is the owners. Now, I heard what you said on Friday we met Harry Redknapp about Joe Lewis being the problem, not Levy, which is correct. And the point, I made a point in our podcast today. I said to Ellie and Philip, you can blame Levy for a lot of things, but if he keeps going to the well and the well's not giving them anything, Joe Lewis is a problem. So he's got to take the accountability. Levy's, as you said, Levy is the face there, so he's going to get the stick. But Joe Lewis is the problem. He doesn't release the money.
I just want to be clear on that as well, right? I'm not absconding Levy of any blame, right? Because at the end of the day, he's to blame for Nuno coming in here. He's to blame for some of the poor recruitment in the past. He's to blame for allowing Steve Hitchen to be here for so long, right? There are things that you blame Levy. But the business model and the way we operate stems from Joe Lewis. Yeah. That comes from Joe Lewis. And when you operate in that way in a game where it's dominated by billions of pounds, you're going to make mistakes because you're constantly trying to do what's cheapest. What's that old saying? buy wrong, buy twice, buy right, buy once, something like that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, you're going to make them mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I'm not absconding Daniel Levy from any blame, because
I'm not either.
he is responsible for the day-to-day decisions around the club. Before the business model, that comes from Joe Lewis, and he put Levy in interim man to make sure that's followed to the letter of the law, because their main priority was getting this stuff brought up around Tottenham to build the stadium, because then they could sell Tottenham for a much bigger price than what they originally bought the club for.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to take that out of context about Daniel Levy, because he's responsible for day-to-day running.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he is to blame for a hell of a lot of stuff. I'm not saying that. But the point is, I said today, the business plan they have for Tottenham Hotspur isn't fit for football. It's fit for running the business.
It served us well, but now that we want to push on for honours, it's no longer viable.
And that shows in our squad. That shows in the quality of players we buy. That shows in we can sack a manager as quickly and bring in another manager that isn't very good. That showed with Nuno. Yeah. Every top-level manager will not come to us because, A, we won't back them. B, we won't back them with the players they want. And see, our transfer policy, Levy's got his hand written all over it. How many players we could have got? 3 or 4 world-class players, but we didn't want to spend the extra $1 million or $2 million. And this is what we're seeing on Sunday. The whole point of this, is coming home to roost of what we're seeing this season. With players that cannot play, cannot defend, players have been there too long, they're too comfortable. And that is the problem. You want players in there fighting each other for their place. Well, if I don't play this week, your man on the bench is going to have my place next week. So I've got to play better. And it comes down to the end. We should have backed Poch 4 years ago. And
that's why Poch will never come back, though, Dermot.
That's why,
exactly. Their whole ownership.
Yeah, and it comes down to it that we're run as a business, not as a football club. And that's the thing, what it is. People got to realise we're run as a normal business. The footballing side has been left to rot. We are so many years behind with the squad. We've been lucky with Conte last season getting into top 4. That was lucky. It was only because Arsenal, bottled it, and we went on a good run. But it's been exposed this season. The six dropping at Newcastle has exposed us. Man United and Liverpool, them 3 games has exposed us for what we are, which is a bad squad with bad players that don't care.
Attitudes. Yeah.
Bad attitudes. Players are on there thinking, well, if I play crap, my mate's going to pick me next week.
It's not even that, though. They know they're going to play next week because there's no competition. Dyer looks over his shoulder and it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. It does not matter because Sanchez is going to be worse and the fans make it knowing they don't want to see him. So it doesn't matter what I do. So there's no accountability. In fact, if you want to see anything from these guys, drop them and bring in the kids. That'll soon fucking wake them up. Tell you that now.
There was something I watched, Graham Soon. I love watching old 70s football.
He's retired, by the way, Graham Soon.
I know he has. But he made a point on one of his Sky Sports shows. He took responsibility for the mistakes he made. If his colleague made the mistake, he would tell him there and then on the pitch. Yeah. And even see the old footballers, you see them bollocking them. Why aren't
you can't do that nowadays, though. I know. I've heard plenty of people. Like I said before, I listen to so many podcasts of players and stuff like that, and I've heard them say, people have gone over and actively asked people not to bollock them in front of the crowd, in front of the telecameras. Wait and save it for the dressing room. And that's the culture you're seeing more and more in modern football, but it's not good enough. Doing it in the dressing room is too fucking late. You do it there and then on the pitch, and it bucks people's ideas up. I've been in teams like that where, I've been the most vocal, and I'll pick and choose. I know a guy, if he needs encouragement, you go over to him and say, look, don't play the long ball. You're good enough on the ball. Get on it. Believe in yourself. You see better. But there are other times where you got to go over, and, some people are like me. I respond to people shouting at me. Someone came over and licked my hole. I'd be like, look, go away, brown nose. But if someone came over and started barking orders at me, I'm like, I take it as in they care. They want me to do better. That's why they're so passionate. That's why they're giving out to me, But you need that on the pitch. You need it on the football pitch. You need accountability. You need someone to go over and say, hang on a minute. Pull yourself together here. It's not good enough. Remember who we are, what we represent. But there's none of that. Everyone wants to wait to the dressing rooms to do it behind closed doors. It's a joke.
It is. There's Romero, Højbjerg. I think 2. I think that would be good captains that would bollock them. That they needed a rollicking. That they needed a kick up the backside. Come on, you're not defending. Why are you not tracking your man? It's a team full of nice guys. And where have you heard that before? Jose, back on the documentary, we're too nice. We need to be Beebs.
And that's what times that we were too nice as well.
Yeah. Do you know, it just follows a link. If 2 world-class managers cannot be wrong about this squad, something has to give. And I look, it needs a full reset. It really does now. I've come to the point where it needs new owners that care, owners that will back the manager, owners that will respect our history, owners that will respect the fans, owners that will actually back the manager full pelt with the players he wants. Yeah. How many more years do we have to go through? We've had 22 years. We've had 14 managers in 22 years. Harry Redknapp, Pochettino are the only 2 longest-serving managers out of 14. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
That when there's a problem, I tell you what, instead of fixing the team, let's sack a manager and we get another manager in. You add up, it is. You add up all that compensation we've paid out of managers. How much could we have bought a whole new defence now? We haven't replaced Toby and we haven't replaced Jan either.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It really is sad.
Took our fucking time replacing Danny Rose as well.
And Kyle Walker and our goal.
Yeah, that took 5 or 6 attempts, didn't it?
If Harry and Son were to go, we'd be fine. We'd be in with Everton in the relegation battle.
See, this is what I'm saying, just on the Kyle Walker thing. It's like, and I remember, Brian Daigle uses this as well. And I remember I brought it up on my first appearance on his show. And it's like, we use that Kyle Walker money. And by the time we've, given Trippier his chance, brought in Serge Aurier and Matt Doherty, that's that money that we basically fucking sold Kyle Walker for. Instead of just investing that on the one player and getting in a quality player to come in, you don't see that drop off, right? You just sort of continue on. But because we want to buy once, buy twice, buy 3 times, and eventually on the 5th time, we might somewhere get it right. It's kind of like that light in there lies our biggest problem. Just fix the issue straight away. Like the thing is, they want to be able to compete for trophies, but operate off the old business model that built us the stadium, which is buy young, develop, and sell for a massive profit.
By quality, right? That's what you get with quality sometimes. Sometimes, Dave, right? You look at those expensive brands, and certain expensive brands are just expensive for being expensive, but other expensive brands are partially expensive for the reason that they offer that sort of quality, that sort of durability, that longevity, that like other brands don't offer. Sometimes you buy like the cheap plastic version of something, only lasts you a few months, where if you bought the real deal, the real thing lasts you for a lifetime. It's why people like, with certain cooking equipment, even myself, Dave, I can't even afford sometimes the cooking equipment that I'll be interested in. But the reason I'm looking at it is because I'm like, that will last me my lifetime. That will be like, a pot that I can have for my whole life, and things like that. And those sort of decisions. And it's the same thing with a center back. It's the same thing with a fullback. It's the same thing with a striker. That's how you should look at things. Is if it costs 20 million, but it's absolute quality, get it, because it's going to last you a lifetime. It's going to be worth every single penny. If you're buying something that you're not sure about and you maybe think you might be saving a buck or two, you'll probably pay the price for it. You'll end up needing to get one again.
Yeah, I can remember back to the 80s where Liverpool would only change 2 players out of a squad of 14 to win a league championship and a European Cup and whatever League Cup. Man United under Ferguson, he never changed more than 2 or 3 players every other season. But also, both clubs had a great youth policy where the youngsters would come in and replace these older players, and they were competent to do it. Tottenham had it in the 80s. We had it in the early 90s under Terry Venables. Nicky Barmby was one of the youngsters that came through the system that came into play with Teddy Sheringham and Darren Anderton in 92, 93. You had Ali Dick, you had Mark Falco, you had certain players coming through the 80s. replacing players. Like if say Graham Roberts got injured, a player could come in and replace him because he was competent to do it. Do you know, we haven't got, the club is broken from top to bottom, and that goes all the way back down to the youth policy as well.
Yeah.
We need to fix it, club. It's going to take it's going to take 3 or 4 years for us to fix this club. Now, if we get the right owners, with the right manager, with the right backing, I'm prepared to wait. I don't mind a rebuild as long as I can see something, that light at the end of the tunnel. Sorry, go on, Dave.
Dermo, on the 3 or 4 years, I'll be honest. I think you could do it over the course of this summer if you want to do it correctly. Two centre backs plus Langley, a goalkeeper, a cam. I think it resolves a lot of your issues. Now you're not going to have everything you need going into a season, but I think it resolves a lot of your issues. Once you put Tottenham on the right path on the pitch, it buys you time to put all the other problems behind the scenes. Get them sorted out, and it doesn't have to be 3-4 years. However, it will take Tottenham 3-4 years because of how we operate and the business model we operate under, and because we can't seem to get any sort of recruitment right. We've got problems with so many players still being here. But if you put the right product on the pitch, you'd be surprised how quickly you can get other things behind the scenes. Because if you've got the right players on the pitch, you know exactly, okay, these guys don't need them anymore, don't even need to recoup any money. Just cut their contracts. That then alleviates the problem much more quicker than what it would normally take us. So let's wait and see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, Fergie must have been right when he said you can't. Alan Hansen said you can't win anything with kids. Fergie proved him wrong on that, and it proves if you get the right. Yeah, exactly. But that proves you get the right youth system in, you can build a successful side on kids. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Just a few experienced players in there just to show them around, and you can do it. We at Tottenham can't. We used to do it. We need to do it again.
What we built under Pochettino, a lot of them came through together as youngins. Danny Rose was brought in as a kid from Leeds. Loaned him out, brought him into the team. Hugo Lloris was brought in back in 2012 when he was only young enough. You got Kyle Walker brought in from Sheffield United. Loaned out a couple times, brought in. We brought Jan Vertonghen when he was young enough. Harry Kane. He came through the system. We brought Sonny in here as sort of fresh, young enough. So. A lot of Ericsson we brought in here young enough as well. So a lot of what we actually had under Pochettino, what culminated in, some of these guys were here from a young age and we all knew each other, and it's kind of like we also got to have that. Not only do we not have to have the senior team right, but we also have to sort of, at some stage, put together a core group of good youngsters so that it makes, if one player's not performing, this guy's good enough, put him in there and throw him. But the other problem you've got nowadays, because the manager can be sacked after 3 or 4 games, if things aren't going right, no one's willing or no one's prepared to give the kids a chance. And that's probably the biggest problem. It is. Dermo, go on, sorry, finish what you were going to say. And then I'm just going
to say Tottenham will rise again. We will rise from the Phoenix. We will win. We will see the light again. Let's not lose hope. We are Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We are the best club in the land. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget why we love Spurs. We love the badge. Get behind the boys. Start next August. Come on, you Spurs.
Stop pumping me up there, man. I'm going to start running through concrete walls, my man. Love it. But what's coming up on THFC today?
We've got a podcast coming out at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's coming out. It's a Friday one. Me and Philip and Ellie disagreeing on a few things. And then we've got Newsbeat at 1, and then we've got Around the Grounds, and then we've got the Palace game coming up. So we've got a lot of things just tearing off to the end of the season. And then in the summer, we're going to do the Women's World Cup. And then we're going to start next season better, even better than we were this season. We're going to move the channel up to another level. And we're going to try to compete with the big boys now. We're going to put our big boy pants on and we're going to try to compete with the big boys next season.
Love that, Dermo. Love that, my man. Well, Dermo, thank you very much for your time this evening, brother. And we'll speak again very soon, my man.
Yeah, and please, everyone, like, subscribe, get these lads up to 10K. They do deserve it. These are the mothership. So please give the lads a lot of love. Right, I'm going to go and find our new Tottenham manager. Where is he? I've just got to do something first.
Check your washing machine, my man. He's probably in there on the spin wash.
These are the players as they're sitting in the bus. They're on the holiday, so I'm going on mine. So see you later.
See you later. Dermo on holiday. Love it. Absolutely
looking
love
for managers.
Good call by Dimertron as well, actually. Really enjoyed that. Everybody do get over and check out THFC Till I Die. Great bunch of lads involved, absolute legends. And Ellie, of course, you know, Queen Ellie and my Friday argument, Mia, they're also a good part of our part over there. So make sure you do get over and check them out. And Ellie, look, you got to stop putting in supermarket chains here. Marks and Spencer's, I mean, the Scotch eggs are the best in the land. Pork pies, the best in the land. And then even their big fat sausage rolls they do, the best in the land. The only thing is, everything else in there, apart from them, is quite expensive. So that's all I have the luxury of tasting. But they are, wow, absolutely love it, Ellie. Big yourself up, but stop. Do you know what, Ellie? You always make me hungry. You come in, you mention chips, sambos, you know, me and you as bad as you egg me on. You know, I could come in here and I'm like, I'm hungry, and Ellie's mentioning kebabs, and I love it. I love it. Big up, Ellie, though. Great to see you, my dear, and hopefully you're keeping well. And by the way, next Monday, Ellie, I want to see you in the hot seat. I want to see you on the fan show. Big yourself
Big up, Ellie. Coming up on the channel, everybody, if you haven't already, please smash the like button. But coming up on the channel tomorrow should be a good debate show. I imagine we'll come up with some good topics for tomorrow. Unless some sort of crazy news comes out, potentially maybe something else on top of that. But look out for a debate show tomorrow. Wednesday, there should be a podcast, as well as some other kind of things coming out there. And Dave is in the middle of working on a nice little sort of kind of video essay on sort of the main topic that we've discussed today. I don't know if we need to give too much leakage on the topic. You can probably imagine what's on our minds, you know, with what we've already had plenty to say about today. But Dave is going to be putting out his little, you could say, his video essay, his thesis on the subject. So that's going to be something to look forward to. It could be out potentially Sunday, I think, that one. But yeah, debate show tomorrow. Everybody join us for the debate show tomorrow.
And Thursday as well. The under-18s, is it Thursday? Yes. The under-18s are in a cup final against Aston Villa. Under-18s Premier League Cup final. Hopefully, myself and Jacko, we should be doing a watch along for it, cheering on the boys. I want to do one for the under-17s, but unfortunately, I couldn't. I had other things I need to do that night. But we will be there supporting the under-18s, and hopefully, for the second time in my life, I'll get to witness Tottenham lifting a trophy. That's it from us. Jack's told you what's coming up for the week. We've got Ben on from We Are Tottenham TV tomorrow at 6, and should be Sean alongside him as well. So hopefully we see you all, guys, back here. Until then, stay safe and enjoy yourselves. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
See you soon, everybody.
In the Dave Army we trust.
In the Dave Army we trust.
Or in Dave's knowledge of defenders we trust. Yes. That's what I like. Everywhere we go.